After reincarnating, Alan arrived in a fantasy world and admired its unfamiliar medieval town. Surrounding wonders included dragons, adventurers, and magic, fulfilling every childhood fantasy he once imagined. Filled with excitement, Alan embraced his second life and anticipated countless opportunities awaiting him. Reality soon disappointed him through poor food and unfamiliar daily living. Finally, filthy toilets and sewage slimes revealed surviving there proved harder than Alan expected. Alan realized the fantasy world lacked electricity and missed the comfort of modern life. Resting quietly, he wished for a world matching his ideal lifestyle and future. Suddenly a glowing doorway appeared before Alan, leaving him stunned by the impossible sight. His moon gate skill awakened, allowing travel between countless different worlds through mysterious dimensional passages. Eventually Alan arrived in rural Japan, amazed that his extraordinary power had connected both worlds. Alan reached Japan after 10 years, and believed returning there had become impossible. An elderly farmer discovered Alan and welcomed the unfamiliar visitor with cautious curiosity. Soon the kind man invited Alan to share a warm meal during lunchtime. Enjoying familiar soba again, Alan reflected on forgotten comforts while appreciating the peaceful moment. Afterward, Alan realized his translation skill worked across worlds and continued traveling between Japan and the fantasy realm. Alan discovered Moongate transported objects between worlds, but excluded every living creature except himself. He decided the unique ability could become a profitable business opportunity. Lacking money, he searched for practical ways to improve his difficult daily life. Comparing both worlds, Alan recognized enormous price differences between ordinary goods and luxury products. Finally, he planned to sell Japanese items in Asfiel and build a fortune through smart trading. Alan helped an elderly villager and received fresh produce in return for his kindness. Before leaving, he prepared to begin his trading plan while hiding his true purpose. Later, Alan visited Merchant Albert and presented an unfamiliar Japanese snack. Curious about its value, Alan asked whether nobles would purchase such unusual goods. Albert believed wealthy nobles would admire the product, but lacked direct connections to introduce it. Explained noble trade followed strict merchant customs, making direct sales extremely difficult for Alan. Although disappointed, Alan accepted Albert's honest advice and abandoned that approach without complaint. Instead, he decided to search elsewhere for someone with stronger noble connections. Then Alan remembered Japanese products, besides sweets that might attract wealthy customers. Unexpectedly, a familiar woman arrived, giving Alan and Albert another possible business opportunity. Alan showed a foreign snack to a familiar shopkeeper after meeting her by coincidence. Excited by the opportunity, Alan revealed his interest in becoming a successful merchant. Despite Albert's hesitation, the shopkeeper agreed to sample the unusual product with interest. After tasting the snack, both women enjoyed it and immediately decided to purchase some. Soon, word spread among local mothers, and Alan's entire stock sold out unexpectedly. Alan celebrated his successful sales and thanked Albert by sharing the remaining chocolate as appreciation. Watching Alan leave, Albert began believing his unusual business ideas could truly succeed. Later, Alan relaxed in a Japanese hot spring after spending a long time without one. While soaking peacefully, he considered hiding his identity because living in Japan remained difficult. Meanwhile, Alan concluded Japanese products had great value and planned broader opportunities beyond selling snacks alone. Alan considered his next business plan while reflecting on the complicated rules governing merchants. Many unanswered questions remained, leaving him determined to find a better trading strategy. Later, Alan relaxed with local drinks after another exhausting day of work and planning. Suddenly, the lively tavern fell silent as every customer turned toward the entrance. A mysterious princess entered the tavern, immediately drawing Alan's attention with her unexpected appearance. Alan learned reincarnated and transferred people possessed unusual backgrounds and exceptional abilities in this world. Many of those gifted individuals became famous adventurers, researchers, or powerful magic users. Curious, Alan asked about the mysterious woman who had entered the tavern earlier. Albert explained she led the renowned Dawn Moon Brigade, a respected all-female adventurer party. Hearing her reputation, Alan quietly left the tavern, realizing influential figures often visited the town. After leaving the tavern, Alan returned to Japan to continue preparing his trading business. Inside a bookstore, he searched for popular manga that might attract customers in another world. A helpful clerk recommended the best selling series, allowing Alan to understand current reading trends. Next, Alan confirmed another magazine's purpose before selecting additional books for his collection. Satisfied with his purchases, Alan left the bookstore carrying fresh ideas for future business opportunities. Alan hoped his manga choice would entertain the transferred princess, while avoiding unnecessary attention from dangerous nobles. Confident in his decision, Alan entrusted the gift to fate, despite feeling nervous about the outcome. He discovered the restaurant had been reserved, ruining his original plan. Alan waited outside and searched for another opportunity to meet her. Suddenly, the transferred princess noticed Alan and questioned why he was standing before the restaurant. He approached the guard and politely asked her to deliver a package to the Black Princess. Before anyone questioned him further, Alan handed over the gift and departed without revealing his identity. Confused, the guard reported the mysterious package to another member of the Dawn Moon Brigade. They found nothing dangerous and agreed to deliver it safely. Finally, the package reached the Black Princess, who decided to open the unexpected gift herself. The Black Princess opened the package and discovered several unfamiliar books from another world. Confused by the unusual gift, her companions questioned why someone had sent those books. Determined to uncover the sender's identity, the Black Princess prepared to begin her search. Suddenly, a frightened girl fled mysterious pursuers, after entering an unfamiliar forest without understanding her situation. Distorted scenery had unexpectedly transported her away from everyday life into unknown surroundings. Overwhelmed by fear, she believed death awaited before silently remembering her father with regret. Fortunately, kind strangers discovered her unconscious and confirmed she had survived the ordeal. She learned an innkeeping couple had rescued her from the bottom of a cliff. Girl thanked her rescuers before learning they believed she was the mysterious divine child. Curious about the title, she discovered black-haired visitors were rumored to arrive from another world with special powers. She admitted remembering almost nothing about her sudden arrival or unusual circumstances. Meanwhile, the couple urged her to recover before worrying about unanswered questions surrounding her identity. Finally, she departed the peaceful inn and began searching for a path back to her original world. Eventually, the Dawn Moon Brigade earned nationwide fame as loyal companions gathered around the divine child. Later, a ringing bell interrupted her memories and drew attention toward an unexpected visitor. Meanwhile, a young man arrived at the inn carrying a mysterious letter for someone inside. After greeting her, he offered a drink while quietly observing the unfamiliar traveler. Silence filled the room as both strangers studied each other before their meeting truly began. Cautiously, Sayoji realized Alan had also been reincarnated from Japan. Next, both introduced themselves while revealing their current identities and ages in the unfamiliar world. Gradually, Alan learned Sayoji remembered her original name and the ordinary life she had lost. Embarrassed, she apologized after realizing her questions had become too personal during their conversation. Alan wondered why Sayoji seemed unfamiliar, with a name other reincarnated people usually recognized. Meanwhile, Alan explained 2 decades had passed since his death. Hearing that, Sayoji eagerly asked whether Alan could still return to Japan through his unique ability. Regretfully, Alan revealed only he could cross between worlds, leaving Sayoji unable to travel with him. Instead, he explained he could transport goods across worlds, and offered to help however possible. Finally, Alan introduced bottled green tea from Japan, hoping the unfamiliar drink would comfort Sayoji. Carefully, Sayoji sampled the bottled tea and noticed its flavor differed completely from anything she had known before. She admitted, enjoying the refreshing drink more than she had expected. Watching quietly, Alan remembered she remained a teenager, despite her mature and dependable attitude. Later, Sayoji accepted her new life, while still hoping to return home someday through Alan's help. Finally, Alan offered financial support in exchange for assistance, asking Sayoji to await his future letter. Before leaving, Sayoji asked whether Alan could handle organizing documents for future work. The following morning, she gathered her companions and prepared to introduce someone new to the group. Soon, Sayoji welcomed Alan as the brigade's newest member before everyone observed him with curiosity. Although one member questioned the decision, Sayoji remained confident Alan could be trusted. Finally, she assigned Alan to manage supplies, while another member took responsibility for training him. Loud reactions spread throughout the headquarters after news of Alan's arrival shocked the entire brigade. Meanwhile, another member questioned how Alan had earned Captain Sayoji's complete trust so quickly. Alan admitted joining the Dawn Moon Brigade had exceeded every expectation he originally held. Accepting the decision, Sayoji handed Alan the supply records and explained his new responsibilities. Together, they inspected the warehouse as Alan realized Sayoji had managed every inventory task alone until then. Alan discovered only he and Captain Sayoji could handle the brigade's complicated calculations and records. Before leaving, Sayoji asked Alan to purchase supplies while reminding him to use the brigade's name. Afterward, Alan encouraged Sayoji not to overwork herself, before heading into town alone. Walking through the streets, he realized joining the Dawn Moon Brigade had changed his future completely. Determined to earn everyone's trust, Alan resolved to deliver results worthy of his new position. Soon, townspeople confirmed the rumor that Alan had officially joined the Dawn Moon Brigade. Excited housewives flooded Alan with questions, mistakenly believing he had become the Black Princess's partner. Smiling awkwardly, Alan explained their connection came only from a successful business exchange. After congratulating his merchant debut, the friendly women invited Alan to visit their shop for future supplies. Meanwhile, Alan continued his errands while wondering who would call out to him next. Friendly merchants surrounded Alan and eagerly offered discounts after hearing about his new position. Returning afterward, who immediately asked whether the shopping had gone smoothly. Checking the receipts, Sayoji became surprised after discovering the total cost was far lower than expected. Patiently, Alan explained local merchants had reduced their prices because they wanted to support the Dawn Moon Brigade. Although relieved, Sayoji worried the generous discounts had gone too far before quietly leaving the room. Before departing, Sayoji acknowledged Alan's efforts and praised the results he had achieved for the brigade. Stepping outside, Alan enjoyed Japan's peaceful atmosphere while taking a brief moment to relax. Soon afterward, he received a letter from Sayoji and wondered whether her proposal would truly succeed. Alan arrived at Lineberg, where the royal capital became his team's new base after their successful journey. Gathering everyone, the leader assigned their headquarters and welcomed the group to begin upcoming responsibilities. Meanwhile, every member received room assignments before settling comfortably inside the prepared residence. Later, Alan confirmed he would return to Japan after completing his current work. Before departing, she entrusted Alan with another request, leaving him curious about her growing concern. Alan returned to Japan and found Genji waiting, who revealed unfamiliar visitors had searched for him all week. Curiosity grew after Alan learned the mysterious guests belonged to the Sayoji group. Without delaying longer, Alan decided to meet the visitors, despite knowing nothing about their purpose. Soon, a composed woman confirmed Alan's identity and invited him into her car. Inside, she admitted spending considerable effort tracking Alan before explaining her reason for coming. Inside the car, Akira introduced herself, while Alan suspected her visit connected to the mysterious Sayoji letter. Suddenly, Alan realized Akira already knew about the young woman from the fantasy world. Moments later, Akira reported securing Alan before warning cooperation would guarantee his safety. Calmly, she implied resisting could leave Alan seriously injured before reaching home. Meanwhile, Alan questioned the Sayoji group as their car continued through the city. Akira explained the Sayoji group operated as a powerful conglomerate with influence across technology, real estate. Next, she revealed her family had served the wealthy Sayoji household for generations. Afterward, Akira recalled working closely beside the young lady since joining the main residence 3 years earlier. Meanwhile, the young mistress appreciated Akira's tea and treated her with sincere warmth. Finally, their close relationship continued through daily conversations and quiet moments spent together. Suddenly, Akira received shocking news that Miss Shizuku had disappeared, without warning from the Sayoji residence. Panic spread as everyone questioned the guards and demanded immediate access to the security recordings. Soon, the footage revealed Shizuku mysteriously vanished, leaving investigators completely baffled. After reviewing every recording, Akira confirmed nobody understood how the disappearance happened. Finally, Akira admitted every search had failed, believing Alan remained their only remaining clue. Akira brought Alan to the Sayoji headquarters, asking him to explain everything he knew about Shizuku. Along the way, Alan admired the impressive building standing unexpectedly near a quiet rural village. Inside, Akira introduced Alan to Chairman Ryugen, who had been waiting for his arrival. Politely, Alan confirmed his identity before meeting the chairman face-to-face. Ryugen recognized Alan from Shizuku's letter and believed he matched her description exactly, easing his concerns after noticing the young merchant's nervousness during their first meeting. Then Ryugen confirmed Shizuku's letter used a secret family code, proving both its sender and contents were genuine. Afterward, he explained the letter even described Alan's appearance, making his identity impossible to doubt. Meanwhile, Ryugen recounted Shizuku's mysterious disappearance. Despite heavy security surrounding her, he revealed Shizuku's handwritten letter arrived when every hope of finding her had nearly disappeared. Ryugen revealed Shizuku's letter mentioned Alan as a trusted collaborator and requested his assistance. Alan asked whether surveillance existed, hoping to inspect the disappearance more closely himself. Before tensions escalated, Alan stopped everyone and prepared to demonstrate his unique ability. Suddenly, a glowing moon gate appeared, astonishing everyone inside the room. Finally, Alan explained the portal connected another world, where Ryujin's missing daughter was waiting. Alan explained the moon gate's limits, revealing only he could safely travel through the mysterious portal. Curious, Ryujin carefully examined the glowing gate, while accepting Alan's permission to inspect it. Next, Alan revealed Shizuku lived in a fantasy world, leading an adventurer party with him. Although doubtful, Ryujin realized Alan had no reason to fabricate such an unbelievable story, accepted the truth, and asked Alan for help bringing his daughter home safely. Alan accepted Ryujin's request to photograph Shizuku, promising cooperation after receiving the picture and letter. Despite remaining cautious, Ryujin acknowledged Alan had delivered the genuine letter. Soon, they sealed their agreement with a handshake before Ryujin entrusted Alan with Shizuku's safety. Meanwhile, Shizuku asked whether Alan had successfully met her father during his visit. Later, Alan explained many people had searched for Shizuku, surprising her with her father's unexpected journey. Explained Ryujin had given him a smartphone to photograph Shizuku, as proof she remained safe. Curious, Shizuku borrowed the smartphone and discovered a recorded message prepared by her father. Watching the video, Shizuku smiled after hearing Ryujin's familiar voice and concern for her. Embarrassed, Alan admitted he had accidentally glanced at the message while Shizuku continued watching. After finishing the recording, Shizuku searched for Alan, intending to return the borrowed smartphone. Alan returned as everyone gathered, and Shizuku asked whether the smartphone worked properly. Soon, the group called everyone together, inviting Shizuku to join a commemorative photograph, smiling together. Alan captured a memorable picture featuring Shizuku and her adventurer companions. Later, a teammate noticed Alan had become comfortable living alongside the group. Another companion introduced the Royal Capital Bazaar, famous for rare goods from traveling merchants. Alan suggested visiting the Royal Capital Bazaar while adventurer duties paused, sparking Shizuku's curiosity. Interested, Alan asked whether anyone could open a market stall there. Alan considered suitable bazaar products while reviewing the application. Returning home, Alan found Camille, Ryuka, and Lazuli waiting curiously before asking about his current activity. Meanwhile, Alan quickly avoided Camille's attention, leaving everyone watching his unexpected reaction with puzzled expressions. Instead, Alan reassured Camille that nobody in their group viewed her negatively anymore. Finally, Camille admitted earlier misunderstandings made her feel unwelcome, while Alan's kindness eased her lingering worries. Ryuka expressed gratitude because Alan had eased their captain's worries. Camille compared Alan to a caring father, while Alan quietly wondered whether everyone would truly accept him. Later, Alan explained he was completing a bazaar application because he planned to open a small stall. Camille eagerly asked what Alan intended to sell, while he admitted everything remained experimental. Alan decided sweets suited nobles but continued searching for products matching his limited budget. While discussing noble preferences, Ryuka suddenly found an interesting idea after searching through nearby bookshelves. Excited by her discovery, Ryuka presented a Japanese book, believing nobles might enjoy reading unusual stories, though everyone wondered how fantasy world residents could understand Japanese. Although Alan liked the entertainment concept, expensive books made the business plan difficult to expand immediately. Finally, the group agreed Alan should prepare only a small selection before testing customer interest at the bazaar. Before leaving, Alan promised another visit, then returned to modern Japan overlooking the bustling city skyline. Alan worried Chairman Ryujin still doubted his explanations, despite receiving the smartphone and gifts. Soon, Kamiki introduced herself as Alan's attendant, surprising him with her formal greeting and cheerful professionalism. Embarrassed, Alan apologized for his earlier behavior because Kamiki's respectful attitude caught him completely off guard. Strengthening confidence after confirming the mysterious glowing stone remained completely unknown. Kamiki outlined the promised support, providing Alan with accommodation, daily necessities, and an unlimited credit card. He stood speechless after seeing the unexpected financial support. Despite appreciating everything, Alan explained he would accept assistance only if two important conditions were respected. First, Alan agreed to cooperate with research involving the mysterious gate and the connected fantasy world. Requested Alan support Shizuku Shikizuki as much as possible, revealing their highest priority. Kamiki secured Alan's cooperation, leaving him agreeing despite feeling overwhelmed by her determined request. Afterward, Kamiki promised to protect and assist Alan while he prepared another favor to discuss. Walking together through the city, Alan explained his interest in entertainment products for the upcoming bazaar. Later, Alan revealed opening the stall would help him build valuable connections across the royal capital. Believed winning noble support would strengthen both his business and the brigade through reliable information and relationships. Kamiki admired Alan's determination after learning he wanted honest success through his own efforts. Curious about his business, Kamiki asked what products Alan intended to purchase for the bazaar. Soon, Alan discovered a promising selection of card games and believed they matched his business plan. Explaining his idea, Alan noted a shale lacked entertainment, making simple games attractive for many people. Alan favored trading cards because they seemed easier to introduce than traditional board games. Kamiki revealed the Syoji Group owned a trading card company, offering Alan an unexpected business opportunity, contacted Akira, and requested an entire warehouse of cross-world trading cards immediately. Although surprised, Alan explained he needed only a small shipment because the bazaar served as his first trial. Alan sincerely thanked Kamiki while appreciating her willingness to assist his plans. Finally, Alan decided sweets and books were enough, insisting he could manage the remaining preparations independently, assuring Alan his involvement would not burden Shizuku anymore. Entering a modern entertainment store, Alan admired how games, books, and videos had changed over the years. While browsing displays, Alan noticed a familiar title and realized it could become another promising bazaar product. Recognizing Yume Koi as a popular series, Alan believed many nobles would enjoy reading it. Meanwhile, Akira quietly paused beside Alan, leaving him wondering what had suddenly caught her attention, then apologized after realizing his nostalgic memories caused another misunderstanding. Kamiki gently explained, supporting someone from afar could matter more than remaining constantly beside that person. Accepting her advice, Alan entrusted the gift to Kamiki, asking her to deliver it for Shizuku instead. Meanwhile, making books, manga, and dramas easier to organize together. Finally, Alan noticed Kamiki resembled Syoji's older sister before they continued preparing for the upcoming bazaar. Confirming his bazaar application had been approved without any unexpected problems. After accepting the permit, Alan learned the merchandise would arrive on the event day because storage remained limited. Meanwhile, Ryuka asked about Alan's store location while secretly hoping his business would achieve great success. Studying the city map, Alan wondered why his stall stood beside the central district, despite the busy western marketplace. Finally, Ryuka explained the central district housed influential nobles behind protective walls. Ryuka explained some nobles secretly visited the bazaar, making Alan's stall location even more promising. Smiling confidently, though Ryuka could only guess his true intentions. She laughed warmly because Alan's mysterious confidence made the upcoming bazaar more exciting. Before departing, Ryuka expressed anticipation for the event, leaving Alan puzzled by her cheerful compliment. Alan calmed his lingering doubts and decided the only remaining task was waiting for bazaar day to arrive. Alan looked across the royal capital, deciding to watch patiently as the bazaar preparations and future opportunities gradually unfolded. Alan opened his royal capital bazaar stall, preparing quality mineral accessories before welcoming customers with growing confidence. Carefully, Alan displayed chocolate first while reserving books for trusted buyers. Meanwhile, noticing visitors gathered despite the main event remaining far from beginning. Nearby, upper-class customers already wandered between stalls, encouraging Alan to assess potential buyers with cautious optimism. Determined to succeed, Alan believed superior products would attract attention despite neighboring stores targeting wealthy shoppers. Confidently, believing determination would eventually bring customers despite the quiet bazaar atmosphere. Unfortunately, nobody approached, leaving Alan disappointed as hours passed without attracting a single interested visitor. Alan wondered whether his merchandise lacked appeal or his selling skills discouraged potential customers. Suddenly, Albert arrived, immediately noticing Alan's discouraged expression while visiting the Royal Capital Bazaar. Surprised by the encounter, Alan learned Albert had business nearby. Before deciding to explore the bustling bazaar together, Albert praised Alan's merchant ambitions before offering practical advice. After noticing the stall struggled to attract customers, Alan realized food required free samples because unfamiliar products rarely convinced people to purchase immediately. Next, Albert recommended opening another stall in the middle-class district, where weekly bazaars attracted more suitable customers. Albert encouraged Alan to continue until the afternoon session ended, instead of abandoning his efforts early. Finally, Alan reflected that lasting success depended on maintaining product quality. Alan listened as one final suggestion encouraged him to broaden his business purpose. Smiling, Albert advised Alan to discover another meaningful goal beyond simply earning money through merchant work. Later, several customers visited the stall, yet their reactions showed little interest in Alan's merchandise. Reflecting on the disappointing results, Alan considered Albert's advice before preparing to close the stall as evening approached, suddenly causing everyone nearby to wonder whether the mysterious visitor recognized him. Alan noticed the Marquis Castellano family's eldest son approaching, realizing an influential noble had unexpectedly visited his humble stall. Meanwhile, Alan steadied himself after recognizing rumors were true, and the young noble inspected every nearby shop. Curious, the noble entered Alan's stall, hoping to discover unusual merchandise, unavailable elsewhere. Respectfully, Alan introduced confectionery and toys as rare products brought from another world. Finally, Alan presented chocolate, inviting the noble to experience its distinctive aroma and unique taste. Lord Ray ignored his guards' concerns and chose to examine Alan's commoner's stall, despite their repeated objections, patiently satisfying Lord Ray's growing curiosity about the unfamiliar confection. Following Alan's instructions, Lord Ray carefully held the chocolate correctly before tasting it for the first time. At first, Lord Ray hesitated, wondering whether the unusual aroma indicated an unpleasant flavor. He praised the chocolate's delicious taste and immediately asked Alan about purchasing an entire package. Lord Ray considered the chocolate inexpensive, purchased every pack available, and surprised Alan with immediate payment. Encouraged by the purchase, Lord Ray requested explanations about Alan's remaining sweets. Curiosity grew as Lord Ray selected caramel and several other confections, deciding to buy numerous varieties. Soon, Alan realized Lord Ray had already spent over 1 million gold on his merchandise alone. Finally, Lord Ray noticed Alan's paper bags and curiously asked about their unexpected purpose. Explaining the game required building a 40-card deck before competing against other players. Interested immediately, Lord Ray decided to purchase every trading card pack without hesitation, delighting Alan once again. Lord Ray admired its impressive artwork and praised the beautiful design with genuine excitement. Satisfied, Lord Ray bought additional packs, believing the affordable cards would become memorable souvenirs. Eventually, Alan's trading card display became completely empty after Lord Ray purchased the entire stock. Before departing, introduced himself and expressed appreciation for the memorable shopping experience, smiling warmly. Lord Ray handed Alan a special medal before promising they would meet again someday. Afterward, Alan examined the mysterious medal, wondering why such an influential noble had entrusted it to him. Soon, Camille, Ryuka, and Lazuli arrived, only to discover every product at Alan's stall had already sold. Camille excitedly realized they had missed the successful sale while rushing toward the bazaar, leaving her delighted as they happily admired the long-awaited book together. Alan smiled and realized helping others brought satisfaction beyond simply pursuing wealth through business. Later that night, Alan quietly updated his business ledger while reviewing the day's successful bazaar sales. Unexpectedly, Sayoji appeared and noticed Alan still working, instead of relaxing with the others. After greeting Sayoji, Alan explained he was updating the ledger before returning to join everyone reading together. Sayoji asked Alan whether the Royal Capital Bazaar had caused any problems during his first merchant experience. Although Alan assured her everything ended well, he admitted many unanswered questions remained after the unexpected events. Meanwhile, Sayoji noticed Alan seemed troubled, despite successfully completing the day's business, realized he had pursued wealth for himself rather than helping other people. Even so, Alan felt conflicted after receiving sincere gratitude from many customers throughout the successful bazaar. Explaining it expressed her gratitude for everything he had done. Surprised, Alan carefully opened the box and discovered an elegant necklace resting inside. He learned the rare necklace served as a valuable magical catalyst, despite its modest appearance. Quietly, Alan thanked Sayoji after realizing she treasured their renewed family connection because of his efforts. Smiling awkwardly, Alan joked about Chairman Ryujin's similar words before Sayoji called his name once more. Sayoji entrusted Alan with protecting her father and Akira. After thanking Alan again, Sayoji promised to treasure his kindness, leaving their conversation on a heartfelt note. Walking through the peaceful building, Sayoji reflected that the Royal Capital Bazaar had become an enjoyable and memorable experience. Before departing, Alan handed Sayoji a gift, explaining he had prepared something especially for her. Finally, Alan said goodbye, while Sayoji curiously examined the unexpected present after watching him leave. Alan noticed a mysterious Promaka medal falling nearby, prompting him to inspect the unfamiliar object with growing curiosity. He realized its unusual design resembled an important item connected to the kingdom soon. Camille arrived during her training break and recognized the medal after noticing Alan examining it. Curiosity grew as Camille considered the medal's significance, while Alan waited for her explanation. Meanwhile, giving Alan another chance to learn the Promaka medal's true history. Everyone admired Alan's colorful cookies, wondering about the unfamiliar sweets arranged inside the gift box. During tea, while everyone curiously examined the cat-shaped treats, although the gathering felt peaceful, Alan quietly sensed he remained the only outsider among them. Later, Alan learned the bazaar succeeded because one customer purchased every product he displayed. Hearing the same customer had gifted the medals, Camille eagerly requested another look. Alan discovered the mysterious items were gold and silver Promika metals, making everyone realize their remarkable value. He learned the metals granted access to restricted districts and dangerous dungeons. Camille explained guild recognition remained necessary, making gold Promika metals especially difficult for ordinary people to obtain. Meanwhile, everyone confirmed Camille owned a silver Promika medal connected to the academic district. Finally, Alan realized his medal granted entry into the prestigious N5 Magic Academy. Camille suggested Alan ask someone from the academic district because the mysterious gold Promika medal appeared to be an official invitation. Accepted guidance after realizing the vast district would confuse him alone. Cheerfully, Camille volunteered as Alan's personal guide because she had received an invitation to Yume Koi. Together, they entered the impressive academic district while admiring its enormous buildings and lively surroundings. She explained, the district contained famous academies and government research facilities. Camille led Alan toward the checkpoint, reminding him to prepare the mysterious invitation medal before entering. After presenting the medal, Alan passed the inspection and entered the academic district without difficulty. Stepping inside, feeling as though he had reached an entirely different world. Soon Camille introduced the Grand Cathedral serving as the kingdom's only religious school. Finally, Alan learned the academy specialized in healing magic, holy magic, and advanced medical techniques. Alan learned Nana possessed both healing and holy magic, earning an exceptional reputation despite her rare abilities. Meanwhile, Alan decided avoiding Rafine seemed wiser while postponing meetings with the academy's busy vice-captains. Curious about Camille's background, Alan discovered she graduated from an ordinary lower-class magic academy for commoners. Camille explained noble families usually attended prestigious academies, including the elite N5 Magic Academy. Finally, Alan realized the kingdom strengthened powerful bloodlines through education. Camille excitedly showed Alan the destination, while he struggled to believe such a magnificent place truly existed. Soon, the enormous N5 Magic Academy appeared before them, astonishing Alan with its castle-like architecture. Received permission for Camille to accompany him through the academy entrance. Inside, academy staff explained the magical inspection protected the campus by detecting dangerous intentions from visitors. Realizing the prestigious institution surpassed everything he had previously seen, Camille introduced the famous Lion Dormitory, explaining generations of royal family members had traditionally lived inside the prestigious residence. Meanwhile, the Marquise's eldest son and his former bazaar customer. Suddenly, Camille froze after hearing Ray Castellano's name, leaving Alan confused by her unexpected reaction. After confirming Ray's identity, Camille lowered her head, appearing troubled by the unexpected encounter ahead. She turned around and hurried away, forcing Alan to chase after her immediately. Alan stopped Camille from leaving, insisting she had misunderstood his relationship with the noble family. Patiently, Alan assured Camille nobody would punish her because the invitation came through his personal connection. Despite his explanation, Camille refused to continue, believing she had been tricked into a dangerous situation. Gradually, Camille calmed herself, although worry remained visible across her troubled expression. Finally, Camille directed Alan toward the Great Eagle Dormitory. Alan noticed Camille lacked permission to enter the area, so she prepared to leave after finishing her guidance. Meanwhile, Camille continued doubting Alan's connection with powerful nobles. Soon, a mansion attendant welcomed Alan and escorted him inside, while asking Camille to wait outside. Watching Alan disappear indoors, Camille stood silently, unable to hide her lingering anxiety. Moments later, whose exaggerated relief revealed the overwhelming stress she had endured, they turned toward the entrance after hearing someone unexpectedly arrive at the meeting place. Soon, Ray Castellano warmly welcomed Alan, remembering their previous meeting during the successful bazaar event. Alan noticed a young woman silently watching their conversation with careful interest. Curious about her identity, Alan introduced Camille as his companion, though his uncertain answer invited suspicion. Finally, Alan stood speechless, realizing the unexpected introduction had placed him in an awkward situation. Alan noticed Camille silently glaring at another guest, leaving him confused and unable to understand the tense atmosphere. Soon, the host presented Alan with a special dessert prepared exclusively for their important meeting, explained the fruit tart required no slicing, because each portion was already prepared. While Alan felt relieved his carefully chosen gift pleased the host. Meanwhile, making Alan realize her mood still had not improved, despite the welcoming gathering, explaining he attended the academy as a first-year junior high student. Next, Ray introduced his cousin Chris Elijah, while Alan praised the delicious fruit tart served during their meeting. Suddenly, Chris questioned Ray's unusual behavior, leaving Alan surprised by their familiar relationship. Meanwhile, Chris urged Ray to reveal his full identity, instead of hiding important details. Finally, Alan discovered nobles possessed both given and family names, unlike commoners, explaining Chris's additional surname. Alan was stunned after Elysia revealed herself as the princess of the Cainlees kingdom. Alan noticed Irasa Cainlees, realizing she belonged to the royal family. Meanwhile, Alan learned was the kingdom's second princess, leaving him surprised by her presence. Afterward, Chris's background revealed royal connections and extraordinary magical power through her family. Soon Alan discovered was an awakened one, whose magic surpassed previous kings. Finally, Chris explained immense magic could appear beyond noble lineage, comparing Alan's rare talent with her own. Chris explained the awakened ones possessed extraordinary perception, prompting Alan to meet her despite his uncertainty. Later, Alan suspected Chris might also be a reincarnated person after considering her unusual knowledge and behavior. Hearing Alan's concern, Chris reminded him extraordinary abilities never determined someone's true character or worth. Instead, Chris explained, reincarnated people remained ordinary nobles despite their talents. Finally, recognizing her perspective before calmly agreeing with her conclusion, Alan noticed Chris behaved more maturely than her youthful appearance suggested, easing the conversation between them. Afterward, Chris requested regular purchases from Alan's stall, showing interest in his unique products. Alan welcomed the partnership while Chris promised support for Camille's brigade. Meanwhile, Alan decided to seek Camille's approval before finalizing their business arrangement with Chris. Finally, Chris departed after their meeting, while Alan noticed Camille standing nearby with an unsteady expression. Alan noticed Chris leaving for fresh air, wondering whether their meeting had already ended peacefully. Outside, Chris asked to speak privately, while Alan welcomed the unexpected conversation with respectful composure. Moments later, Chris requested Alan lift his bangs, leaving him confused by the unusual request. Hesitantly, Alan revealed his forehead, surprising Chris as she carefully examined his appearance. Suddenly, Chris reacted with overwhelming shock after recognizing Alan as Hakuba-kun from her previous world. Chris examined Alan again, becoming convinced he closely resembled the Hakuba-kun she remembered from another world. Next, Chris revealed Hakuba Ise was her favorite character from the game Wonder stage. Hearing the explanation, Alan learned Chris believed he was Hakuba Ise's reincarnation, instead of merely resembling him. Amused, Chris compared Alan's height, voice, hair, and eyes with Hakuba, finding every feature almost identical. Finally realizing meeting Alan made that unforgettable journey feel worthwhile, Chris recalled admiring Hakuba through Wonder Stage, spending her savings on merchandise and limited events. Meanwhile, her classmates watched as Chris devoted nearly every day to supporting her favorite idol. Unfortunately, Chris remembered that peaceful life suddenly ending, marking the beginning of an unexpected fate. Awakening afterward, Chris found herself reborn in another world, stunned by the impossible experience. Finally, Chris admitted gaining status and remarkable abilities while believing Hakuba's existence disappeared because of her reincarnation, believing only precious memories of him remained within her heart. Although Alan struggled to understand everything, he realized Chris had endured years of painful loneliness before recovering. Suddenly, Chris rushed toward Alan, convinced fate allowed her to meet Hakuba once again, despite his denial. Instead, Chris accidentally collided with Alan, sending them both tumbling onto the floor in surprise. Moments later, Chris excitedly approached Alan again, leaving him confused by her sudden cheerful change. Alan tried stopping Chris, but she confidently insisted she could erase every misunderstanding surrounding their situation, despite Alan's resistance, leaving him unable to escape her determined enthusiasm. Meanwhile, Chris proudly claimed her training prepared her perfectly, encouraging Alan to remain calm until she finished. Suddenly, another girl entered the room and discovered Chris pinning Alan beneath her. Freezing in disbelief, Chris immediately apologized after Camille arrived and witnessed the awkward scene. Alan thanked Camille for interrupting the misunderstanding, while Chris regretted losing her composure before meeting her beloved idol. After calming down, Chris asked Alan whether he had been reincarnated or transferred into this world like her. Next, Chris explained only Sakakibara Yui's consciousness entered Chris's body. Curious, Alan realized Chris possessed two identities that blended into one complete personality after the transfer. Finally, Chris jokingly described herself as the kingdom's strongest otaku girl. Alan admitted meeting another Japanese person like himself felt completely unexpected. Meanwhile, Chris revealed her royal position often caused misunderstandings. Listening carefully, Alan reflected that meeting another transferred person seemed unlikely without his unusual merchant lifestyle. Before leaving, Chris expressed gratitude for their long conversation, appreciating the rare chance to meet Alan. Finally, Alan promised future friendship and support, while Chris happily called him Hakuba before correcting herself to Alan. Yuma wakened in confusion, finding Alan carrying her while confirming she had finally regained consciousness. Gradually, Yuma remembered meeting Lord Ray and the princess, before realizing she felt completely recovered. Soon, Alan explained Yume had collapsed after leaving the room, convincing her everything had been only a strange dream. Ashamed, Yuma apologized for deceiving Alan and regretted causing trouble before accepting his reassurance. Finally, while he forgave her and cheerfully accepted their reconciliation, Yume insisted on reading Yume Koi, refusing to leave Alan's back despite feeling much better. Meanwhile, Alan quietly reflected that Camille had become his dependable savior throughout recent troublesome events. Later, Yume informed Alan that the captain wanted to meet him, prompting him to head there immediately. Finally, Camille questioned Alan about the recent incident, demanding an explanation for everything that had happened. Alan examined official documents and discovered Chris Elisa Canelius's name. Meanwhile, Chris reviewed the papers while Alan admitted recent events had created complicated support from influential nobles. Concerned about the situation, Alan wondered whether his actions had disrupted Chris's original plans. Instead, Chris appreciated Alan's help, before explaining their break from adventuring served another important purpose. Ultimately, she revealed credibility and royal connections remained essential for securing supplies and skilled blacksmiths. Chris explained influential support remained necessary because even skilled adventurers required noble connections to accomplish larger goals. Recalling past experiences, she revealed dishonest nobles and merchants forced women to earn respect through powerful allies, latter offering profits from future activities in exchange for his cooperation. Unexpectedly, the Lord rejected money and demanded a different reward, surprising everyone present. Immediately, Alan condemned the shameless proposal after the Lord targeted Lafine and her companions. Chris refused the disgraceful demand, protected her companions, and left after asking everyone to forget the offensive proposal. Offended Lord mocked their decision while Chris concealed her frustration behind a calm expression. Afterward, Chris admitted similar incidents happened before, although never with such open humiliation. Sadly, she explained women regularly faced treatment like this throughout the kingdom, not only inside the capital. Alan realized those hardships had shaped their all-female adventuring group, then listened as she reflected on the difficult situation without blaming anyone for the outcome. Curious about the merchant, Alan learned Alex Barn led the Barn Company despite lacking noble status. Afterward, Chris warned Alan to remain cautious before encouraging him to rest from his exhausting schedule. Meanwhile, Chris quietly resumed handling paperwork as documents continued piling across her desk. Soon Alan noticed Chris carried an even heavier workload while delivering another stack of important papers. Ina informed Alan that numerous visitors had arrived, hoping to meet him after recent developments. Hearing the explanation, Alan learned support from the Marquis and Princess Chris had attracted widespread attention. Alan insisted everything happened through coincidence rather than careful planning. Meanwhile, Chris asked Ina to receive the guests while she organized important information behind the scenes. Finally, Chris concluded their connection with Princess. Chris had sparked public interest. Chris proposed making Alan the brigade's exclusive merchant, allowing both sides to strengthen their future operations together. Next, she explained selling materials directly through Alan would reduce commissions. However, Chris decided they should postpone the plan until gaining enough experience and reliable personnel. Alan accepted the responsibility, assuring Chris he welcomed the additional work, despite its growing demands. Finally, Chris reminded Alan his selfless actions deserved appreciation, even if he never expected recognition. Alan admitted his priorities had changed, choosing to support everyone around him instead of pursuing only his original goal. Afterward, he agreed to help Ina, while she finally finished handling the overwhelming stream of visitors. Meanwhile, Ina explained negotiations advanced smoothly, despite continuous meetings with merchants seeking business opportunities. Soon, they prepared for the next regular team leaders meeting, after narrowing their choices to several promising trading companies. Finally, Alan followed Aina toward the meeting, realizing it would become his first official attendance. Aina explained she had avoided accounting duties while managing the supply team because her workload already remained overwhelming. She offered him responsibility for handling the accounting documents instead. However, Alan admitted others usually assisted him with complicated calculations, despite understanding the overall process. Entrusted the accounting work to Alan before leaving the remaining tasks in his care. Finally, Alan prepared to use his unique abilities whenever difficult situations demanded another practical solution. Alan processed the brigade's records with a spreadsheet, finishing complicated accounting through modern technology from Japan. He discovered potion maintenance consumed an unusually large portion of the budget. Carefully analyzing the reports, Alan recognized the potion upkeep required immediate attention before costs increased further. Remembering his work between worlds, Alan considered knowledge gained from regular trips to modern Japan. Soon, he connected the potion problem with his magical research, using materials brought from the other world. Alan decided to investigate potion production further after remembering herbs, unexpectedly, leaving Alan wondering whether someone had been monitoring his recent activities. Soon Yoshida welcomed Alan into the Syoji Group's Leaf Institute to discuss ongoing botanical research. Afterward, Yoshida began explaining his latest findings before providing Alan with an important progress report. Finally, Alan studied the potion mechanism, learning how it accelerated healing by stimulating damaged cells. Yoshida explained potions healed injuries by strengthening the body's natural recovery instead of creating miraculous effects. Next, he revealed medicinal herbs closely resembled Earth's plants, despite producing different healing results, rather than the herbs themselves, created the extraordinary restorative power behind potions. Recognizing Alan's unusual physical abilities, Yoshida confirmed earlier examinations had already supported his suspicions. Finally, Yoshida demonstrated cultivated medicinal herbs, surprising Alan with successful cross-world plant research. Yoshida explained medicinal herbs struggled to survive because this world lacked enough mana to sustain their growth. Meanwhile, Alan suggested earth plants might react differently after absorbing mana in the fantasy world. He asked Alan to assist with researching mana's effects on ordinary plants. Soon, another researcher guided Alan toward the laboratory where the experiments were being conducted. Finally, Alan examined earth plants gathered for comparison with medicinal herbs from the other world. Yoshida asked Alan to infuse magic into an ordinary plant, giving the unfamiliar experiment a careful attempt. Moments later, the plant showed a faint reaction, suggesting Alan's magic had produced an invisible change. Although no visible transformation appeared, the researchers thanked Alan and promised to share the test results later. Before leaving, Alan requested another experiment because the stored mana would gradually disappear over time. Afterward, Alan received financial reports for the upcoming meeting. Alan reassured Ina before their first meeting together, promising to help whenever unexpected problems appeared. Curious about Alan's belongings, Ina questioned the items he carried, but he postponed the explanation. Watching Alan closely, Ina noticed he often avoided giving complete answers, despite his sincere efforts. Finally, Ina realized Alan had gradually changed, although he remained unaware of the difference, informing everyone that several teams would begin expeditions near the royal capital soon. Afterward, Alan listened as the meeting shifted toward reviewing the Magic Squad's current situation. Meanwhile, Alan discovered many male adventurers sought membership, though every applicant failed to satisfy the squad's expectations. Instead, another member recommended a promising healer whose abilities could strengthen the Magic Squad's future, believing her talent would mature within 6 months, despite remaining inexperienced. Raffen urged immediate recruitment, believing Piana Ishin's hidden talent deserved recognition before anyone else noticed her. Commander approved identical conditions before continuing the meeting with the next squad's report. Soon, another report confirmed negotiations had secured blacksmiths and supplies following the previous day's successful discussions. Meanwhile, hesitant members struggled to recall remaining matters until Alan patiently encouraged them to continue reporting. Finally, preparing everyone for another important announcement before the meeting concluded. Reviewing the brigade's expenses, Alan identified excessive potion maintenance costs. Next, Alan presented a newly designed potion container that proved lighter, stronger. Furthermore, he explained the improved container preserved potions for nearly 1 month through its special treatment. However, several members questioned whether such remarkable preservation could truly be trusted, despite Alan's confident explanation. Calmly, the commander defended Alan's credibility, reminding everyone he would never make claims that were easily disproved. Accepting the proposal, the commander approved a 1-month trial for Alan's potion containers. Relieved, Alan thanked his Japanese partners before introducing another project involving roses. Researchers confirmed roses preserved magical essence better than other tested plants. Consequently, Alan agreed to cultivate those roses within the fantasy world. Preparing for future production, Alan accepted the cultivation request, expecting stronger potion materials. Discovering unexpected mutations after stopping regular reports to the research laboratory rather than discarding them, Alan considered testing their medicinal potential, despite suspecting his mana caused the unusual changes. Alan approached Mei and requested help learning advanced potion-making techniques. However, Mei explained ordinary medicinal herbs would not suit Alan's current objective. Finally, May identified the flowers as pseudo-medicinal herbs, encouraging Alan to continue investigating their unique properties. May examined Alan's unusual flowers, recognizing unfamiliar plants unlike anything she had encountered before. Afterward, May decided minor adjustments could improve the strange herbs, despite Alan's limited potion knowledge. Next, May introduced potion classifications, explaining 4 colors and 3 grades, created 12 different potion types. Meanwhile, Alan learned stronger potion colors restored increasingly serious injuries depending on their classification. Surprised, Alan realized local alchemists normally produced only blue potions. May explained purple potions remained scarce, because required herbs grew only inside dangerous regions. Alan realized nobody commonly sold them, despite their importance to advanced adventurers either today. Curious, Alan asked about red potions next, while May described them legendary treasures alone. Ancient red potions supposedly granted true resurrection through divine power beyond death itself alone. Finally, May explained lower grades still healed fatal wounds and restored vitality effectively enough. May explained ancient red potions originally existed as holy relics before disappearing from dangerous dungeons. Moments later, Alan watched brewing finish as the potion turned purple. Hearing its market value reached 500,000 gold shocked Alan instantly. Meanwhile, the commander praised Alan's remarkable achievement beyond expectations, proving artificial cultivation could transform medicine production forever ahead together. Saitanji warned Alan against selling valuable purple potions privately to protect guild reputation properly. Alan realized bypassing the guild would damage trust and harm future business opportunities seriously. Instead, Saitanji suggested selling through the capital's black market for valuable research purposes safely. Furthermore, she encouraged Alan to operate confidently, without hiding the team's identity anymore, unnecessarily. Finally, Aina accompanied Alan, while everyone kept the project secret from other members completely. Saitanji entrusted Alan and Aina with selling the potion while expecting enormous profits from a successful transaction. Later, Alan remembered the remaining roses reserved for crafting 5 additional valuable potions. He realized the completed batch could be worth 5 million gold. Unable to reveal the rose's secret, Alan decided to produce the remaining potions alone. Determined to finish before tomorrow's black market visit, Alan used every remaining rose despite lingering concerns. Alan noticed the finished potion carried a faint red color instead of ordinary purple. Examining it further, Alan realized the mysterious liquid differed from purple potions, despite its reduced quantity. He feared disposing of the potion could endanger innocent people if discovered. Therefore, Alan decided to bury the unusual potion somewhere within unexplored territory, instead of risking public safety. Soon, searching for a secure place to hide the dangerous creation, Alan searched for a hiding place before sensing an unusual light within the empty wasteland. Suddenly, a massive structure resembling a space elevator appeared, leaving Alan completely astonished. Deciding the location seemed unsuitable, Alan abandoned his plan and carried the mysterious potion elsewhere. After returning, Alan briefly lost consciousness before someone noticed his exhausted condition. Soon, Aina found Alan looking sleepy, while he blamed simple exhaustion before preparing for their important mission. Aina warned Alan the royal capital's black market remained dangerous, then promised to protect him throughout their important visit. Meanwhile, Alan realized Aina genuinely believed nervousness had kept him awake before focusing on the upcoming task. Without further hesitation, Aina hurried toward the exit, reminding Alan they could not afford arriving late. Following behind, Alan gathered his thoughts and accompanied Aina toward the black market, ready for their risky transaction. Displaying a purple potion because he had nothing else available for customers. Nearby, unusual merchants sold herbs and strange items, surprising Alan with the market's organized atmosphere. Meanwhile, his companion explained every product remained legal, despite operating outside guild and government control. She warned prices stayed high because desperate buyers accepted expensive goods without complaints or bargaining. Finally, Alan rejected haggling, then calmly waited as the black market prepared to open its doors. As the black market opened, crowds rushed inside, forcing Alan and Camille to watch the overwhelming commotion. Surprised by the turnout, Alan questioned the packed marketplace while hoping to discover valuable merchandise. Soon, a customer approached Alan and examined the displayed purple potion with serious interest. After checking the appraisal certificate, the buyer confirmed the potion appeared genuine despite remaining cautious, confidently, leaving Alan stunned because the proposed price exceeded every expectation. While Alan negotiated with a customer, demanding attention and disturbing the ongoing transaction, angered by his behavior, Camille ordered the troublemaker to leave because he refused to buy anything. Instead of leaving, the man insulted Camille and mocked her for confronting him before the gathering crowd. Alan stepped between them, stopping the escalating conflict and warning the man to calm down immediately. Without hesitation, ending his harassment and shocking Alan with her swift response, Camille's powerful punch sent the troublesome man flying, leaving Alan stunned by her unexpected strength. Afterward, making her quietly regret losing control during the disturbance. Meanwhile, Alan noticed strong demand for potions and decided to leave Camille alone until she recovered. Soon, a female knight arrived and immediately purchased the purple potion, delighting Alan with his first successful sale. Knight questioned Alan about how he had obtained such a valuable potion. Maxwell asked whether Alan could restock purple potions, while Alan avoided making any definite promises. Next, Maxwell handed Alan his business card and requested priority whenever another valuable potion became available. Although Alan warned prices could rise sharply during emergencies, listening carefully, Alan learned purple potions remained extremely rare because regenerative treatment was difficult for ordinary adventurers. Finally, Maxwell explained saving lives outweighed any expense, making even the highest potion price worthwhile. Maxwell explained purple potions saved injured comrades from permanent disabilities, strengthening his determination to secure a reliable supply. Before leaving, Maxwell mentioned an unusual gathering nearby, attracting Alan's curiosity about the crowded area. Hearing elf slaves had arrived, Alan became surprised and wanted to learn what was happening. Together, Alan and Camille walked toward the crowd, intending to observe the situation without getting involved. Instead, Alan discovered employment contracts rather than slave auctions. Camille explained these elf slaves voluntarily accepted contracts instead of becoming slaves through debt or criminal punishment. Next, while difficult jobs offered greater rewards despite magical restrictions. Curious about their value, Alan asked whether elf slaves were rare and discovered they demanded extremely high wages. Soon, the growing crowd separated Alan and Camille as they struggled to move through the busy marketplace. Suddenly, several objects shot across the sky, causing everyone to stop. Alan and Camille reunited after the crowd separated them, then searched for the source of the disturbance. Moments later, Camille recognized Ina among the gathered elf workers. Soon Alan noticed Ina calmly holding her employment contract before the watching crowd. Both admired Ina's graceful appearance while observing the unexpected meeting. Finally, Alan examined her contract and realized every employment preference remained completely unrestricted. Ina's contract required a third-grade red potion before anyone could hire her for work. Meanwhile, Alan learned Ina's companion searched desperately for medicine because someone close to them was seriously injured. Camille believed the expensive potion could save that person's life, despite its enormous cost. After considering the situation, Alan realized Ina's strict employment conditions existed for an important reason. Rather than thinking about profit, Alan focused on helping those facing a desperate crisis. Watching Ina leave, Alan realized her decision was a sacrifice made to save an injured child. Suddenly, Alan remembered he might be capable of creating a third-grade red potion himself. Camille noticed Alan's concern, but he avoided revealing the idea forming in his mind. Instead, Camille reminded Alan that caring about everyone could become a dangerous burden. Silently, Alan accepted her advice while remaining determined to help those he truly could save. Camille encouraged Alan as they left, while her advice inspired him to consider another solution for Ina. Remembering Ina's situation, Alan realized hiring her could benefit both his business and her future. Under the moonlight, Alan decided helping Ina was worth attempting if he could make a red potion. Soon, Alan visited an elderly couple, hoping they could assist with his important plan. After welcoming him inside, the couple noticed Alan's unusually serious attitude. Alan finally revealed he had an important request and asked the elderly man for help with his new plan. Alan asked a landowner to borrow unused farmland for 1 month, hoping to begin farming. Grateful, the owner accepted his request and entrusted the field without hesitation afterward. Happily, carrying simple tools, Alan worried whether his first harvest would succeed through hard work. Unexpectedly, Kita arrived driving a tractor, giving Alan valuable farming assistance immediately before planting. Finally, Alan learned Kita borrowed the tractor from his farmer parents, encouraged everyone. Alan admired the thriving field, realizing healthy crops had grown better than he originally expected. Meanwhile, preparing roses before harvesting and producing valuable potions. Kita examined the farmland carefully, then assured Alan the cultivation plan remained achievable, despite initial concerns. Observing nearby vegetation, Kita identified different weeds, revealing the boundary between forest soil and cultivated land. Finally, Kita explained certain weeds indicated recently farmed soil, helping Alan understand the field's condition better. Following Kita's guidance, Alan operated the brush cutter and steadily cleared thick weeds across the field. Soon their teamwork transformed the overgrown farmland, while tractors and trucks completed heavier clearing tasks efficiently. After finishing the work, Alan admired the cleaned field and reflected on the day's remarkable progress. Kita praised Alan's effort, comparing his determination to someone raised in a farming family. Later, Alan worried about the borrowed land until Kita explained its recent condition pleased the owner. Kita explained the landowner welcomed proper farming despite ongoing inheritance problems affecting his extensive properties. Determined to help further, Kita postponed his part-time work and promised another full day assisting Alan. Although grateful, Alan declined additional burdens, believing he should finish the remaining farm work independently. Even so, Alan thanked Kita sincerely and offered to cover every farming expense for the assistance. Smiling warmly, Kita refused payment and reminded Alan their friendship alone inspired his wholehearted support. Kita's kindness surprised Alan, who admitted making genuine friends remained a new experience after arriving in Japan. After hearing Alan's feelings, Kita invited him to attend a local gathering together sometime later. Meanwhile, the newly planted roses stood quietly, marking steady progress across the carefully prepared farmland. Eventually, Alan completed the planting work. Feeling grateful, everyone had contributed to his farming project, apologizing for earlier requests while offering greater support for future farming preparations, asking Alan to provide surplus red potions whenever future opportunities appeared. Later, Alan gathered his courage and asked Akira about a troubling matter that had been bothering him. Hearing the question, Akira revealed Saikanji had forbidden further reports about the Magic Roses research project. Alan respected Akira's hesitation after she admitted the situation required careful explanation later. Finally, Akira decided Alan deserved the truth and began explaining the Saikanji family's complicated background. Umi led rival family branches, despite appearing united within the same company. Next, Akira revealed a branch family spy leaked confidential information after secretly approaching Ryujin's side. Alan learned both families cooperated in business while competing for influence despite their similar status. Meanwhile, Ryujin managed traditional industries, whereas Umi controlled advanced technology and genetic research projects. Finally, Alan realized the Leaf Research Facility belonged to Umi's authority, strengthening the branch family's influence. Akira explained the Leaf Research Facility's conflict, centered on controlling the growing otherworld industry and magical resources. Meanwhile, Alan realized enormous business interests depended on otherworld materials. Although burdened by responsibility, Alan appreciated Ryujin's efforts to shield him from the hidden power struggle. Akira revealed isolated villages simplified information control, easing the cultivation and management of magic roses. Finally, Alan resolved to establish a magic rose cultivation base in Japan to secure future production. Alan explained his potion business plan, hoping steady sales would support both farming and the rescued elves. He mentioned Akira's explanation about the Saikanji family, ending his questions for the moment. Meanwhile, the woman admitted she could only trust her father while remaining inside the research facility, but she confirmed magical energy alone could not transform it into a magic rose. Finally, she explained genuine magic roses remained precious, because simple magical exposure could never reproduce their unique properties. The researcher suspected Alan's unique power influenced the magic rose, because his abilities differed from ordinary reincarnated people. Although uncertain, she promised to continue investigating Alan's mysterious blessing. Soon Alan confirmed Moongate could transport living plants, revealing another unexpected ability within his rare skill. Even after the discovery, Alan admitted many secrets surrounding his unusual power remained unanswered. Finally, carrying new questions while preparing for future investigations into Moongate, leaving the research facility, Alan decided to prepare additional products instead of relying only on red potions. Despite lingering doubts, Alan accepted an invitation after a maid escorted him to an awaited meeting. Soon, Alan arrived at the destination, where a noblewoman welcomed him and asked about his unexpected visit. Camille noticed Alan had employed an elf slave, comparing the unexpected situation to stories from fantasy novels. Meanwhile, but unexpected circumstances changed his original intentions. Surprised by the explanation, Camille realized Alan never planned to own an elf servant from the beginning. Alan explained he simply could not abandon the elf after witnessing the difficult situation. Finally, Camille questioned Alan's unusual choice while calmly accepting his reasoning and shifting attention toward more important matters. Camille asked Alan not to avoid her, leaving him embarrassed by her unusually straightforward request. Instead, Alan offered Camille cream puffs as a small souvenir today. Gratefully, Camille accepted the gift before storing it for her family later. Curious, Alan admired her ice magic after watching frozen cubes appear. Finally, Camille revealed she merely released a fraction of her suppressed magical power during the demonstration. Alan realized Camille's overwhelming magic accidentally froze his drink whenever she relaxed her guard. Soon, Camille returned to discussing the elf slave and requested Alan's opinion on future arrangements. Considering the situation, Alan decided preparing a separate house in the royal capital would solve the problem. However, Camille explained the brigade's residence could not accommodate the elf permanently. Finally, recognizing ownership could create serious trouble during overseas assignments. Alan explained he kept the elf's existence secret to protect everyone in the brigade from unnecessary trouble. Camille briefly misunderstood Alan before realizing he acted responsibly instead of selfishly. She agreed, finding a secure home would protect the elf from future dangers. Meanwhile, Alan warned poor criminals might target the elves if their location became publicly known. Camille proposed strong anti-theft magic around the house, though installing such protection would require considerable expense. Mentioned another important matter before continuing their discussion with Alan about the elves' future. Alan realized he needed another identity to protect himself in the brigade. Confidently, Camille promised royal authority could arrange everything, despite Alan's concerns about the complicated request. Soon she offered to prepare a family register and merchant guild registration for Alan's new identity. Finally, Alan thanked Camille for her generous assistance and promised to repay her kindness in the future. Camille ended the meeting, leaving Alan encouraged after receiving her valuable support and sincere goodwill. After departing, Alan reminded himself the most important part of his plan was about to begin. Soon, he approached a heavily guarded restricted facility, protected by fences, warning signs, and surveillance cameras. Security personnel carefully monitored the surrounding area from a nearby guard post. Although surprised by the strict precautions, Alan accepted the intense security before continuing toward his destination. But the staff explained complete secrecy remained absolutely necessary for everyone's protection. Furthermore, they emphasized the precautions also protected Alan until knowledge of the other world became public. Instead, the staff assured him local villagers accepted the restricted area without fear or suspicion. Residents believed Alan conducted confidential agricultural research with the Sajin group inside the secured facility. Finally, Alan realized the explanation avoided suspicion. Although he considered it only a partial truth, Alan confirmed the roses grew steadily and expected harvesting within a week if magical power remained sufficient. Meanwhile, the researcher explained increased magical infusions should keep the flowers developing without serious problems. Curious, the researcher asked Alan to demonstrate how he infused magical power into the roses. Unexpectedly, the flowers emitted a mysterious glow, leaving everyone puzzled by the unusual reaction. Researchers gathered nearby, hoping detailed observations would reveal the glowing roses' magical properties. The researcher entrusted Alan with managing the roses, explaining the cultivation team valued the plants greatly. Later, another brigade member located Alan and delivered an unexpected letter from a real estate agent. After reading it, Alan discovered the purchased house was ready much sooner than expected. Soon, he revealed plans to move into the new house in the near future. Meanwhile, Alan explained the purchase would accommodate new members joining his household before long. Alan's companion realized his wealthy clients included nobles, explaining how he earned impressive profits so quickly. She accepted Alan's success, while struggling to imagine such an extraordinary business world. Meanwhile, Alan decided to purchase the house before informing the brigade commander about his plans. Soon he hurried to inspect the property, leaving his companion curious about the unexpected decision. Finally, the agent introduced the house, and Alan immediately recognized it as his long-awaited dream home. The agent welcomed Alan inside, and explained the spacious house contained 7 rooms with excellent sunlight and ventilation. Next, appreciating the quality expected from Princess Chris's recommendation. Curious, Alan discovered a modern-style bath and eagerly asked how the unusual equipment functioned. Meanwhile, the agent demonstrated magical stones that supplied running water and heated it with convenient enchantments. Finally, Alan searched for additional modern conveniences, but realized the house still lacked an indoor toilet. Alan quietly considered the purchase, while the agent waited for his final decision about the property. Embarrassed, Alan apologized after checking every storage space, despite finding nothing inside the empty house. He approved the contract and asked the agent to prepare the necessary documents. Later, Alan reflected on his progress, realizing he had purchased a house before completing the red potion. Finally, Alan worried failure would leave him living alone in the newly purchased home. Meanwhile, his thoughts drifted toward the child, who desperately sought to save someone important. Shinto presented Alan with a merchant guild card, granting him a fresh identity for future business dealings. Alan examined the registered name and questioned why the unfamiliar alias appeared, instead of his own. Shinto clarified the reason before carefully explaining the guild registration system step by step. Next, she described the 5 shared ranks used by both merchants and adventurers. Finally, Alan learned merchant promotions depended on business growth and tax payments rather than combat. Alan learned the guild could officially grant ranks only up to platinum, raising his curiosity. Shinto revealed another special rank existed beyond platinum, surprising Alan with the unexpected announcement. She introduced the rare Kuramusu rank, reserved for outstanding merchants recognized by the royal family. Hearing famous trading leaders shared that rank, Alan reacted with complete disbelief and astonishment. Shinto wondered what extraordinary achievements had earned Alan such an exceptional merchant status. Chris visited King Romanus Faye, Kyanres III, requesting permission to present something unusual that she recently obtained. She explained those special connections introduced remarkable foreign items worthy of the king's personal attention. Romanus curiously examined the unfamiliar round pastries, wondering what strange objects had been placed before him, describing them as light foreign sweets with delicate texture. Delighted by the first bite, Romanus praised the fragrant pastry and sweet filling as an unforgettable new delicacy. Chris revealed the cream puffs came from Alan before requesting noble recognition for his growing merchant business. She explained Alan traded rare products, yet lacked the status needed to protect his expanding enterprise. Chris warned talented merchants without influence could lose their families or skilled workers to powerful rivals. The king agreed that granting Alan the prestigious Kuramusu rank was appropriate, planning to consult his family before announcing the decision without inviting unnecessary opposition. King Romanus decided Alan deserved careful treatment, believing his rare talents could greatly benefit the kingdom's future. Shinto explained the cream puffs had unexpectedly elevated Alan's position beyond anyone's original expectations. Although Alan wanted only a silver rank, Shinto revealed Kuramusu granted extraordinary privileges and unlimited guild funding. He accepted the opportunity, realizing the prestigious status suited his ambitious trading plans. Before leaving, promised to request her assistance whenever future business opportunities appeared, leaving her surprised by his broad interpretation of her promise. Before departing, Alan remembered another gift and handed Shinto a package with a cheerful smile. He explained the clothing would help disguise his new merchant identity while using his registered alias. Shinto encouraged Alan to test the elegant outfit, ensuring it fit before he left. Later, a mysterious figure quietly accepted a beautiful rose, hinting at another important encounter ahead. Alan thanked the researchers for volunteering, while his companion assured him the harvest would continue without further assistance, expecting another harvest and continued potion production after purchasing the surrounding land. She urged everyone to finish harvesting before noon, keeping the day's schedule moving without unnecessary delays, unexpectedly astonishing Alan with their remarkable enthusiasm and efficiency. Afterward, everyone traveled together toward the research facility to continue the project's next important stage. Researchers processed the harvested materials with laboratory equipment. One researcher examined the sample in protective gear, maintaining strict concentration throughout the delicate experiment. Alan noticed the researchers behaved far more professionally inside the laboratory than they had outside. Soon, the completed experiment produced a vivid red potion, surprising everyone with its successful outcome. Watching the finished potion, Alan quietly hoped the experimental results matched everyone's expectations. Researchers struggled to believe the potion could restore damaged brains and hearts. Alan explained ancient legends described first-grade potions granting resurrection, though reliable historical evidence remained unavailable. Historical records suggested powerful rulers controlled these miraculous potions, despite their occasional discovery in ancient ruins. Remembering old documents, Alan confirmed the potion also possessed remarkable rejuvenating effects beyond ordinary healing. Finally, citing records describing people who naturally lived beyond 150 years, Alan admitted legendary healing might exist, yet warned the red potion's true abilities remained completely uncertain. Meanwhile, the researcher refused to give false hope because no evidence guaranteed the potion could heal patients. Believing uncertain hope remained better than abandoning every possible chance for recovery. Reflecting on past losses, Alan understood the researcher's hesitation and accepted her cautious perspective. Together they agreed continued research could reveal the potion's potential and provide comfort for future patients. The researchers produced nearly 2 full bottles, exceeding expectations after anticipating only a single bottle from the experiment. Modern laboratory equipment completed difficult work within an hour. Alan remarked that advanced science appeared almost identical to magic from the perspective of another world. Meanwhile, a hooded figure quietly departed, avoiding attention after observing the successful experiment from afar else, where a crowded street buzzed with activity as townspeople continued their ordinary routines without noticing anything unusual. Alan visited the crowded black market while observing its strict trading conditions and busy atmosphere. Along the way, he learned ordinary purple potions no longer satisfied buyers, making rare red potions far more valuable. He quietly entered the slave market to continue his planned business. Inside, he requested permission to purchase an elf slave, carefully following every required procedure before proceeding. The cautious staff accepted his request after confirming the purchase conditions. The merchant examined Alan's guild card and immediately recognized its extraordinary status, leaving him completely stunned. Overwhelmed by the discovery, he hurried away to report the remarkable customer to someone more important. Soon, a senior representative personally welcomed Alan, thanked him for waiting, and promised to oversee the entire transaction himself. Alan followed the merchant into a private room for another important discussion about his business. Merchant admitted unfamiliarity with a Kurimusu, ranked merchant, despite serving royal clients recently. Next, Alan revealed a red potion, explaining he intended to purchase an elf using the valuable item. Examining the potion carefully, the merchant realized she had never seen such a remarkable treasure before. Finally, Alan permitted the merchant to appraise the rare potion before continuing their negotiations. The merchant introduced the elf slave Yorua, outlining her literacy, calculation skills, magical talent. Alan learned Yorua possessed extensive botanical knowledge, suitable for research and agricultural work. Meanwhile, Alan explained he wanted Yorua to cultivate magical roses instead of fulfilling ordinary buyers' expectations. Hearing his request, the merchant emphasized Yorua's exceptional value before discussing the proper labor contract. Alan admitted unfamiliarity with current slave prices, surprising the merchant during their negotiations. The merchant explained elf slaves cost far more than ordinary slaves because of their rare abilities and valuable contracts. Alan accepted the explanation, knowing another red potion could replace the payment, despite requiring additional time to produce. Instead, Alan valued mutual trust above profit, convincing the merchant of his honest intentions. Soon, the appraisal confirmed Alan's red potion was genuine and classified as grade 3. Relieved, Alan realized the negotiation succeeded after the merchant acknowledged the potion's extraordinary quality. After the appraisal, the merchant left briefly to bring Yorua and complete the long-awaited transaction. Soon Yorua arrived before Alan, quietly meeting her future master after the successful negotiation. Meanwhile, the merchant prepared the contract, guiding both sides through the remaining purchase procedures. Alan learned every brokerage fee had already been settled, leaving no additional payment beyond their agreement. Finally, Yorua reflected that finding someone willing to exchange a genuine red potion had become reality. The merchant proposed a Type 3 labor contract, while Yorua accepted the arrangement without raising any objections. Unexpectedly, Yorua refused monthly wages, choosing complete devotion because Alan offered the priceless red potion. Concerned, Alan questioned how Yorua could live without income, seeking a fair solution for her future. Meanwhile, the merchant revealed Yorua wished to use the red potion on Arya Finekins, a high elf. Finally, Alan learned high elves possessed extraordinary magical power and held status comparable to royalty across the world. Alan asked about Arya, and Yorua explained she faithfully served the high elf as her personal attendant. Next, Yorua revealed Arya had remained unconscious for an entire year after suffering severe injuries during battle. Alan discovered rumors claimed Arya's mysterious background and devastating injuries resulted from extremist purist elves. Meanwhile, Yorua explained high elf society remained divided because Arya's birth challenged long-standing bloodline traditions. Finally, she warned Alan that purist elves might launch another attack against Arya in the future. The merchant assured Alan that Arya remained safe in the royal capital, far from the distant forest of Gaja. Accepting the warning, Alan promised to remember the advice while considering the risks surrounding Arya. Although unexpected questions remained, Alan decided to postpone everything until Arya finally recovered from her injuries. Later, Alan visited the mansion where the unconscious high elf continued resting under careful protection. Seeing Arya closely, Alan sensed overwhelming magical power, reminding him of Sakakizara's extraordinary presence. Arya explained Arya's magic had fallen below half because her barrier continuously consumed enormous amounts of magical energy. Alan decided to begin treatment, despite everyone expressing uncertainty about the outcome. Next, the physician carefully prepared the red potion, while Yorua watched Arya with anxious anticipation. Time passed as Arya received the potion, yet everyone noticed no immediate signs of recovery. Finally, silence filled the room when the treatment appeared unsuccessful. Everyone waited in silence beside Arya, hoping the treatment would finally show signs of success after many anxious moments. Suddenly, Yorua felt movement from Arya's hand, filling her with surprise and renewed hope. Moments later, Arya slowly regained consciousness and recognized Yorua standing, faithfully at her bedside. Yorua watched Arya awaken after enduring an entire year of unconsciousness. Finally, relief spread throughout the room as everyone realized Alan's red potion had successfully saved Arya's life. Alan smiled quietly while Yorua shed tears of relief after witnessing Arya finally regain consciousness before her eyes. Respecting their reunion, Alan excused himself and left the room without disturbing the heartfelt moment. Afterward, Alan bid everyone farewell as those nearby remained amazed by the miraculous recovery. Soon, Alan announced Arya had awakened safely, prompting everyone to prepare for the joyful news. Finally, the merchant explained Arya appeared reserved, but normally maintained a friendly and approachable personality. Leaving the mansion, Alan met a woman who recognized Yorua and approached him with gratitude for saving her. The woman thanked Alan sincerely, explaining she had always cared for Yorua, like her own daughter. Alan assured her that Yorua would never suffer mistreatment despite becoming his contracted servant. Unexpectedly, the woman revealed she had once lived as a slave herself, surprising Alan. Finally, she explained her former master became her husband, encouraging Alan to value meaningful relationships beyond social status. The woman believed Yorua's determination would help her adapt to life with Alan despite their different backgrounds. After returning home, Alan decided to prepare his house before welcoming Arya and Yorua. Meanwhile, Alan unexpectedly met Saionji, who had heard he recently purchased a new residence. Curious about the house, Saionji asked whether Alan had paid in full and imported the furniture from another world. Finally, Saionji requested permission to visit Alan's new home, hoping to see it personally. Suddenly, Alan turned around in surprise after hearing an unexpected request, leaving him briefly speechless and curious. Discovering she had secretly stayed inside the team house during recent days. After arriving, Alan welcomed her inside, then prepared to leave while allowing her to settle comfortably alone. Instead, she guided Alan through the empty house before requesting another important favor regarding its future. Next, Alan opened the Moon Gate, linking the residence with his former Tokyo home for convenient access. Examined unfamiliar furniture while Alan promised further explanations after showing the remaining household items, impressing Alan by adapting comfortably while Akira handled household responsibilities without difficulty. Curious, Alan asked Saionji to explain why she had prepared the furnished residence so thoroughly. Smiling gently, Saionji revealed every furnishing was her thoughtful gift, celebrating Alan's new home, despite playful embarrassment. Gratefully, Alan admired the expensive furniture while Saionji assured him every item came from trusted premium brands. Alan sampled coffee despite disliking it, appreciating Saionji's considerate effort behind the thoughtful machine. After tasting the coffee, Alan admitted it surprised him, while Saionji quietly noticed his changing preferences. Soon, Saionji questioned whether Alan had purchased the elf recently offered through the black market. Confused, Alan cautiously asked why she had reached that unexpected conclusion from limited information. Calmly, Saionji explained everyone in the royal capital knew the unsold elf's unusual circumstances. She concluded only the priceless red potion could justify purchasing the elf after prolonged delays. Saionji explained royal merchants had never imported red potions, making outside acquisition almost impossible. Alan realized someone could cultivate potion herbs and create red potions inside the capital. Furthermore, Saionji linked Alan's recent magical exhaustion to ongoing suspicions. Meanwhile, Alan recalled sacred artifacts once recovered from dangerous dungeons long ago. Finally, Saionji concluded exchanging one red potion for Yorua remained worthwhile overall, prompting him to admit every suspicion she raised was completely correct. Embarrassed, Alan confessed he regretted causing unnecessary trouble because his influence remained too limited. Gently, Saionji explained greater authority would have allowed Alan to seek her guidance instead of acting secretly. Immediately, Alan insisted protecting every brigade member remained his personal responsibility as their dependable captain relieved. Alan realized Saionji no longer blamed him, accepting her apology before their misunderstanding quietly disappeared. Saionji encouraged Alan to rely on her whenever problems arose involving Yorua, emphasizing mutual support within the brigade. Meanwhile, slave merchants finalized Yorua's transfer through an official magical contract. Afterward, the smiling merchant accepted completion before departing satisfied. Watching the carriage disappear, Alan reconsidered his opinion of slave merchants, realizing some acted honorably. Yorua expressed heartfelt gratitude and pledged loyal service to Alan. Alan asked Yorua to call him Alan using alias, while encouraging her to speak casually instead of formal titles. Amused, causing him quiet embarrassment despite her sincere admiration afterward. Meanwhile, Arya reminded Yorua about proper behavior, yet Alan accepted whichever manner felt natural. However, Yorua explained ordinary elves ignored strict etiquette because she lacked contractual obligations entirely. Finally, Alan realized Yorua possessed extraordinary magical power despite severe injuries from unknown monsters. Alan listened, as Yorua hoped to learn more about the mysterious Moon Gate and its remarkable origin someday. Soon, Arya and Yorua admired the unfamiliar house before Alan explained everyone must remove shoes indoors. He encouraged both elves to explore freely, while Arya apologized for her curiosity. Next, Yorua questioned a strange machine, prompting Alan to introduce electricity as a portable power source. Finally, Alan reassured Yorua the electricity remained safe, easing her worries about the unfamiliar technology. Yorua happily enjoyed the soft bed, while Alan felt relieved, seeing both elves adapt comfortably to their new surroundings. Later, opening cabinets and inspecting unfamiliar household spaces with endless curiosity. The energetic elf continued exploring without slowing her excitement. Meanwhile, Alan prepared a generous meal combining Japanese and Western dishes for everyone to enjoy together. Finally, the group gathered around the table, as Alan encouraged everyone to eat without worrying about the remaining chores. Alan introduced salmon carpaccio, encouraging Arya and Yorua to experience unfamiliar raw fish, despite their understandable hesitation. Surprisingly, relieving Alan after worrying their eating habits differed completely. Later, Yorua praised each meal before Alan prepared a relaxing bath for everyone's comfortable first evening. Meanwhile, Arya quietly admitted they had been purchased by a genuinely kind person. Yorua noticed Arya's lingering concerns, gently approaching her companion before offering comforting support through their shared conversation. Arya admitted Alan's kindness became meaningful only after everything ended safely, leaving Yorua quietly concerned. Holding her stuffed toy, Yorua confessed she feared waking after being purchased by a cruel master instead. Smiling gently, Arya promised to become stronger, while Yorua urged her never to face such dangers again. Suddenly, Alan returned and invited both elves to enjoy a dessert after their satisfying meal, happily ending the evening with brighter expressions and renewed comfort together. Morning arrived as Alan enjoyed his peaceful home, appreciating the quiet atmosphere after recent events and responsibilities. Soon, Alan discovered a mysterious letter waiting outside, becoming curious, because the unfamiliar sender left no explanation. Finally, Alan examined the sealed envelope, recognizing Ray Castellano's name, and preparing to uncover the unexpected message within. Alan reviewed his 3 responsibilities, balancing brigade duties, while managing supplies, accounting, and daily operations with steady dedication. Meanwhile, he expanded his merchant business by selling imported Japanese goods, earning recognition despite remaining an iron-ranked beginner merchant. Elsewhere, Alan produced purple potions from magical roses, supplying adventurers seeking treatment for severe injuries through his growing business. Later, he headed toward the academy, preparing to handle another assignment connected to his expanding responsibilities. Finally, Alan consulted Lord Ray after learning the dormitory merchant planned to resign, creating an important opportunity requiring careful consideration. Lord Ray recommended Alan as the academy store's next merchant, believing his experience made him the most suitable successor. Surprised by the proposal, Alan admitted managing such a large academy business alone would be difficult, despite appreciating the opportunity. Instead of refusing, Lord Ray explained the academy mainly needed a supplier for entertainment goods and luxury merchandise. After hearing the details, Alan realized the request matched his business, allowing him to provide popular trading cards through wholesale sales. Finally, Lord Ray expressed gratitude, revealing his younger brother Rowan loved the trading cards and often eagerly collected every new pack. Alan accepted Lord Ray's request, unaware his trading cards and entertainment products would soon create excitement throughout the entire academy. Later, Alan studied the trading card game's rules while a curious student watched, hoping to understand the unfamiliar pastime alongside him. Soon, the girl eagerly examined the colorful cards, becoming amazed by their appearance before learning how the game actually worked. Patiently, Alan explained deck building, card rarities, character attributes, magic effects, and the basic rules needed for friendly matches. Unfortunately, the girl misunderstood the explanation, confidently believing stronger personal cards alone guaranteed victory, despite missing the game's real strategy. Alan taught the card game's strategy, explaining that balanced decks mattered more than relying on only powerful cards. Afterward, the excited girl offered to help Ella in exchange for a pack of trading cards as her reward. Meanwhile, Alan peacefully tended his garden, treating it as a relaxing hobby, while planning the academy store's preparations. Next he reorganized the packaging, replaced damaged displays, and studied the products further before officially managing the academy shop. Finally, Alan arrived at the academy's luggage inspection area, passing the checkpoint smoothly before continuing toward his new responsibility. Arriving at the Great Eagle dormitory, Alan searched for the correct location before receiving a warm welcome from the waiting staff soon. Minerva introduced himself as a student life department member and guided Alan through the dormitory to begin their cooperation. Next, Minerva showed Alan the shop where future deliveries would be stored and sold to the academy's students. While inspecting the merchandise, Minerva became curious about a sealed box, prompting Alan to reveal it contained trading cards requested by Lord Ray. He offered a free sample, allowing Minerva to understand their appeal, while learning the cards and starter decks were surprisingly expensive. Alan asked Minerva about placing a suggestion box, hoping to collect students' opinions and improve the Academy Store's services. Curious, Minerva asked for clarification, encouraging Alan to explain the purpose behind his unexpected proposal. After listening, Minerva admitted previous requests had often been ignored, while Alan promised to consider reasonable suggestions without accepting every demand. Later, Alan left the dormitory, planning to return to the Dawn Moon Brigade after finishing his work at the academy. Before departing, Canon informed Alan that a young student from the Northern District had arrived outside to meet him. Outside the dormitory, Alan searched for the visitor until Canon pointed toward a lone student waiting patiently for him. Soon, the unfamiliar boy confirmed Alan's identity, introducing himself politely as someone who had come with an important request. Respectfully, Diero Porthley revealed he represented the Great Eagle dormitory, leaving Alan curious about the student's purpose. Calmly, Alan accepted the formal introduction, allowing Diero to explain the reason behind his unexpected visit. Finally, Diero asked to purchase several Crossworld card packs, but Alan declined because he did not handle private sales. Diero apologized for his unusual request, but Alan reassured him that refusing private sales was simply part of his business policy. Instead, Alan explained no reservations had existed, because nobody had previously asked to purchase the products directly. However, he agreed to sell several packs during the upcoming bazaar while limiting the number each customer could buy. Before ending the discussion, Alan asked whether Diero intended to share the bazaar information with other interested students. Hesitantly, Diero admitted he would spread the news, leaving Alan quietly aware that many more customers might soon appear. He hesitated before asking Alan a personal question, hoping he would not misunderstand his true intention. Rather than dismissing him, Alan encouraged Diero to continue, assuring him that even a small concern was worth hearing. Gradually, Diero revealed he came from a humble rural baron family and once lacked the talent normally required to enter the academy. Later he explained that studying among gifted nobles as a transfer student made it difficult for him to fit into academy life. Eventually, Diero admitted hearing about Alan's trading cards, believing the game might help him connect with other students more easily. Hearing Diero's explanation, Alan realized the trading cards had already become popular throughout the academy faster than he expected. Then Alan remembered Diero already owned cards, deciding to examine his collection instead of making an exception for private sales. Carefully, Diero presented his nearly completed deck and treasured cards, allowing Alan to inspect every card one by one. While reviewing the collection, Alan noticed several impressive rare cards, suggesting Diero had gathered valuable pieces, despite limited opportunities. Recognized the unusual hamburger curry deck, understanding Diero had built an original strategy around his favorite theme. Alan explained that Diero's deck contained too many powerful cards, making his early game weaker and less consistent. Next, Alan recommended building the deck around one ace card while supporting it with cards sharing compatible races and abilities. Smiling warmly, Alan encouraged Diero by explaining that creative strategies could overcome rarity, giving every player a chance to win. Although Alan worried his advice might sound inexperienced, Diero gratefully accepted every suggestion and gained a fresh perspective on deck building. Realized every card had value, thanked Alan sincerely, and hurried away to improve his deck through further research. After Diero departed, Alan quietly watched the closed door, reflecting on everything that had happened during their unexpected meeting. Satisfied with the outcome, he considered visiting Akira soon to increase his inventory before handling his remaining responsibilities. Suddenly, dark clouds gathered overhead as thunder echoed across the city, signaling that an unusual incident was approaching. Soon afterward, Sakakibara arrived seeking Alan's help with a dangerous request involving something forbidden, despite not breaking the law. Alan accepted the risk and agreed to repay Sakakibara's past support by purchasing a mysterious book she urgently requested. Sakakibara finally revealed the forbidden purchase was a BL Arrow Doujin, leaving Alan surprised by the unexpected request. Alan noticed the unusual Doujin book, while the princess examined his reaction with quiet curiosity inside the room. Meanwhile, Alan accepted the explanation calmly, showing no surprise, despite learning the book's true nature from everyone. Instead, Alan respected personal hobbies, believing private interests should remain an individual's freedom without disturbing others. Later, the princess treasured the rare book greatly, while Alan considered offering a more valuable present for her. Finally, Alan's broad-minded attitude amazed everyone, leaving them impressed by his unexpected understanding. Despite the awkward situation, Alan accepted the princess's request, preparing to copy the books while promising himself not to examine their contents. Carefully, the princess reminded Alan to avoid reading anything inside, treating the treasured books with complete seriousness. After leaving the room, Alan postponed the copying task until the following day, because the bazaar still required his attention. Soon, Alan noticed a crowd gathering outside the team house, wondering what unexpected event had attracted so many people. Moments later, Ina rushed toward Alan, leaving him confused as she urgently approached while everyone watched the surprising reunion. Alan learned the long line consisted of merchants, leaving him surprised that so many customers had gathered outside the team house. Without delaying further, Alan apologized for making everyone wait and entrusted Ina with managing the queue before meeting the visitors. Soon, the first merchant introduced himself as a longtime trader serving noble families and explained his purpose for seeking Alan's assistance. After hearing the request, Alan realized rumors about his cross-world packs had spread widely among influential merchants and their wealthy clients. Finally, Alan declined the purchase offer, recognizing the remaining stock was already reserved despite the merchant's generous proposal and noble connections. He recognized the merchant's subtle pressure but remained calm, deciding to protect his business without giving special treatment to anyone. Rather than accepting the demand, Alan explained that favoring the Castellano family would create unnecessary problems with other influential nobles. Embarrassed, the merchant realized his approach had failed and quietly withdrew after understanding Alan's firm but reasonable position. Before departing, Alan revealed that limited cross-world packs would be available at the next day's bazaar for interested customers. Finally, Alan wondered how many more merchants would arrive seeking the same valuable products, anticipating another busy day ahead. After returning home, Alan entered the house expecting a peaceful evening following another exhausting day of handling merchant requests. Inside, Eula and the young girl warmly welcomed Alan, proudly preparing dinner while taking care of the household together. Although Alan appreciated their dedication, he gently insisted they should not overwork themselves with every household responsibility. Instead, Eula requested another assignment, hoping to contribute more through housework and earn greater rewards for her efforts. Before discussing additional duties, Alan chose to enjoy dinner first. Gratefully accepting the meal Eula had carefully prepared for everyone. During dinner, Alan praised Eula's cooking, enjoying the meal while admiring how faithfully she had followed the recipe from his ingredients. Curious, Lady Arya asked about Alan's unusual eating utensils after noticing he handled them comfortably throughout the meal. Smiling, Alan explained that the tools were chopsticks from his homeland, demonstrating their practical use while Arya struggled to copy his movements. Next, Eula became interested in Japan's technology, comparing electrical appliances with magical tools used throughout their fantasy world. Finally, Lady Arya examined konjac jelly with fascination, discovering another unfamiliar Japanese food that seemed just as mysterious as modern electronics. He explained that konjac came from poisonous yams, describing the careful process required to make the ingredient safe for consumption. Hearing the explanation, Eula expressed happiness with their new lifestyle, while Alan appreciated sharing enjoyable meals and peaceful daily moments together. Later, Alan assigned Eula and Lady Arya the simple task of placing trading cards into paper bags for tomorrow's bazaar. Instead of letting Alan work alone, Eula and Lady Arya eagerly volunteered to prepare everything together, hoping to finish the packing quickly. Meanwhile, Alan noticed the pair working enthusiastically, quietly watching their teamwork as tomorrow's business preparations steadily moved forward. While packing the cards, Lady Arya enhanced them with anti-theft and anti-scrying magic to protect Alan's valuable merchandise. Surprised, Alan thanked Arya, realizing magical protection existed for problems he had never considered before in this world. Reflecting quietly, Alan admitted he still thought like someone from Japan despite spending 20 years living in the fantasy world. Curious again, Lady Arya asked Alan whether people from his homeland had magic similar to theirs or something entirely different. After considering the question, Alan mentioned the phrase, "wish upon a star," leaving Lady Arya wondering what kind of magic it represented. Lady Arya explained that the spell granted good fortune by manipulating fate, but demanded enormous magical power and life force as its price. Hearing the explanation, Alan learned the dangerous magic had become a lost art, allowing everyone to continue preparing tomorrow's merchandise without concern. Later, Alan decided that studying magic would become another important goal, though his immediate focus remained finishing the card packaging. The following day, Alan arrived at the royal capital's northern bazaar, noticing the district felt different from the western marketplace. Observing the lively surroundings, Alan guessed the nearby academy attracted many students and staff. Alan entered the northern bazaar determined to give his best, hoping the day's trading would proceed without unexpected problems. Soon, a representative from Ahri Trading Company approached Alan, confirming his identity before expressing interest in purchasing the trading cards. Meanwhile, the representative noticed an even larger crowd gathering, while Alan realized demand had grown far beyond the previous day's expectations. As more customers arrived, nearby merchants questioned why so many academy students had gathered around Alan's stall instead of other shops. Suddenly, someone called out to Alan, leaving him confused after noticing several people watching him with suspicious expressions from the crowd. An older merchant approached Alan, introducing himself while asking whether this was Alan's first visit to the northern district. After confirming his identity, Alan listened carefully as the merchant began explaining the local customs followed by traders in the area. Gradually, Alan learned every merchant respected unofficial business territories, and his successful sales had unintentionally crossed those established boundaries. Using a district map, the merchant showed Alan which schools and customer groups belonged to different trading zones throughout the capital. Realizing his mistake, Alan sincerely apologized, admitting he had not studied the local merchant system before opening his stall there. The veteran merchant assured Alan the misunderstanding could be resolved, explaining that local trading customs came through experience rather than written rules. Feeling relieved, Alan thanked the merchant for the valuable advice and promised to respect the district's traditions more carefully from then on. Next, customers presented their guild cards, allowing Alan to enforce the purchase limit by selling only one card box to each merchant. Later, another buyer asked about rulebooks and play mats, but Alan apologized because he was only offering trading card packs. Meanwhile, the merchant realized demand for trading card accessories had spread rapidly. After the customer rush slowed, Alan took a short break, relieved that the busiest part of the bazaar had finally passed. While eating, Alan noticed his remaining card boxes would sell out soon, because demand had greatly exceeded his original expectations. Soon, another customer approached during the break, politely asking Alan to explain the purpose of the unfamiliar trading card product. Patiently, Alan described the cards as part of a strategic game where players built decks and relied on careful tactical decisions. Hearing the explanation, the customer understood why N5 Academy students eagerly purchased the cards, recognizing their growing popularity and entertainment value. Returning home early, Alan received a warm welcome from Eula, who happily confirmed the trading card stock had sold out quickly. Reflecting on the successful bazaar, Alan felt satisfied that every product disappeared within 3 hours, while attracting many interested N5 Academy customers. Soon afterward, Eula handed Alan a surprisingly thick letter, leaving him curious about its sender and unusual contents. Together, Eula and Lady Arya explained the letter came from the person responsible for purchasing supplies for the academy. Opening the document, Alan learned the academy requested a larger shipment because the trading cards sold out immediately, and most student requests involved them. Alan accepted everyone's congratulations, realizing his successful business meant even busier days ahead, leaving little chance for rest soon. Alan watched Lux introduce the first-generation attack of 1,000 Dragons cards, remembering the recent re-release, while considering the growing popularity of trading card games. Meanwhile, Alan realized the first set had sold out completely before hearing someone arrive unexpectedly at his residence. Soon, Itada, Kainasu entered, carrying fresh coffee, politely visiting Alan before discussing an important matter requiring his attention. After thanking her, Alan explained warehouse stock remained secure, then revealed he wanted advice regarding the trading card game business. Finally, Lux joined them, mentioning banned cards and recent videos, while Alan prepared to address another unexpected issue involving the popular trading card collection. Alan proposed holding a trading card tournament at the academy, hoping the event would support his business while attracting more players. Inspired by children using cards to build friendships, Alan believed a tournament could strengthen connections and increase interest in the game. Listening carefully, Itada, Kainasu, understood his intention, although she reminded Alan that organizing an event for noble children required careful preparation. Next, Itada, Kainasu suggested inviting an experienced trainer, explaining the Syoji Group's connections could help secure suitable participants. Finally, Alan considered asking Lux, whose reputation as a streamer and national cross-world champion made him the perfect guest for the Academy tournament. Itada. Kinasu agreed to introduce Lux, reminding Alan to avoid making unreasonable requests, despite supporting his tournament proposal. Later, Alan apologized for causing repeated trouble, while Itada. Kinasu accepted his gratitude after helping prepare furniture and household appliances. Meanwhile, Syoji Group employees discussed tournament arrangements, working together to organize every responsibility after receiving the important request. Seeing their teamwork, Alan realized everyone still respected Syoji, making him confident the preparations would progress without major problems. Finally, Itada. Kinasu presented Alan with his research reward, then prepared to explain several additional matters connected to their ongoing cooperation. Itada. Kinasu insisted security guards should accompany Alan in public, explaining his growing importance required stronger protection, despite his surprise. Although Alan considered the measure excessive, Itada. Kinasu explained influential business figures already knew about the Otherworld project, making caution necessary. Next, she questioned whether investing enormous resources into products only Alan could provide would truly remain sustainable. Alan listened as Itada. Kinasu described the tremendous cost and decades required to develop new medicine without guaranteed success. Finally, she compared those efforts with Alan's red potion, emphasizing its remarkable healing effects and rapid development within only 1 month. Itada. Kinasu explained that publicly releasing the red potion would greatly disrupt the company's balance, because only Alan's magic could produce it. Meanwhile, she believed future technology might eventually mass-produce otherworld materials, transforming an impossible dream into reality, despite current limitations. Furthermore, Itada. Kinasu noted those rare materials could become priceless resources capable of solving problems beyond the reach of ordinary monies. Smiling calmly, she compared Alan to the goose that lays golden eggs, reminding him how valuable his unique abilities had become. Alan understood why everyone willingly secured trading card supplies and cultivated magical roses instead of exposing everything to the public. Itada. Kinasu reminded Alan that the Syoji Group valued him greatly because he remained their only connection to the young lady. Accepting her explanation, Alan realized such treatment was only natural, leaving Itada. Kinasu quietly observing his reaction, changing the subject. Itada. Kinasu expressed her sincere respect for Alan, acknowledging his character and contributions beyond business alone. Smiling modestly, Alan appreciated the compliment, while Itada. Kinasu jokingly encouraged him to stop sounding so self-deprecating. Later, Alan welcomed Lux into his home once again, preparing for another enjoyable visit centered around their shared trading card hobby. Lux welcomed Alan into his room, proudly offering manga, anime, light novels, and an impressive collection of books for him to explore. After preparing drinks and snacks, Lux carefully served everything with chip tongs, making sure the books remained clean while Alan relaxed. Curious about current trends, Alan explained he wanted a light novel that appealed to female readers for business research. Hearing the request, Lux searched his shelves for suitable titles, selecting works popular with women, because their preferences often influenced wider audiences. Finally, Lux admitted many female students had requested recommendations before, leaving Alan grateful for another valuable source of market knowledge. Lux handed Alan a stack of recommended books, encouraging him to explore several titles that matched his request for current reading trends. Among them, Lux introduced popular villainous stories where reincarnated protagonists changed tragic destinies after becoming the heroine's rival. Surprised by the concept, Alan realized those stories reflected criticism of the ruling class and offered fresh perspectives for readers. Interested in learning more, Alan requested additional recommendations, believing these novels could inspire future business ideas despite their unusual themes. Before leaving, Alan thanked Lux for the helpful guidance, satisfied that the visit had provided several valuable books for his market research. Before leaving, Alan thanked Kita for the recommendations, while Kita encouraged him to visit again and promised their friendship would continue unchanged. Walking home afterward, Alan waved goodbye with a smile, appreciating that he had found a trustworthy friend through their shared interests. Back at home, Alan successfully ordered the recommended books online, grateful that Kita's suggestions made the process simple and efficient. Later, Alan reviewed the Academy Library's collection, wondering whether censorship rules might affect entertainment books unlike his previous Brigade experience. He decided to confirm the matter with Mr. Minor before ordering additional books, including the titles Sakakibara had previously requested. Alan searched for the requested books online, avoiding local bookstores because buying them there could attract unnecessary attention from his security escorts. Carefully checking the author and title, Alan located the correct listing and prepared to confirm the purchase before placing his order. Suddenly, the book's cover surprised Alan, leaving him speechless after discovering an unexpectedly intimate illustration featuring handsome male characters. Although embarrassed, Alan accepted the recommendation, realizing the title belonged to the popular boys' love genre that Kita had suggested. After completing the order, Alan heard someone arrive, then quietly dismissed the coincidence before preparing to greet the unexpected visitor. Itada Kainasu visited Alan unexpectedly, apologizing for the sudden arrival, before explaining she had an important update regarding the upcoming cross-world training session. Presenting the schedule, Itada Kainasu informed Alan the training would take place that Saturday, after his proposed dates were officially approved. Although unable to accompany him because of work, Itada Kainasu handed Alan the necessary information, earning his appreciation for arranging everything so quickly. Surprised by the special training, Alan wondered why someone had willingly accepted responsibility for teaching him alone. He hinted the instructor differed from ordinary trainers, prompting Alan to realize the mysterious mentor would be Lux. Alan reviewed Lux's profile before the meeting, wondering what kind of person the famous cross-world champion truly was beyond his online videos. With the training scheduled for the afternoon, Alan headed into the city early, planning to enjoy lunch before the session began. While walking through busy streets, Alan remembered the promised security detail, but decided not to worry after checking a nearby restaurant on his map. Soon, Alan reached the Soba restaurant, relieved to find the location without difficulty as he prepared for a quiet meal. He noticed surprisingly few customers, leaving him curious about why the popular place felt unusually empty. Alan entered the quiet restaurant, surprised by the empty dining area but calmly decided to enjoy his meal before the afternoon training. Moments later, Alan recognized Lux inside the restaurant, realizing their unexpected meeting happened before the scheduled training session even began. Alan met Yakutani Ryuki, known as Lux, after their unexpected appointment, beginning a friendly introduction that immediately created a comfortable atmosphere together. Soon afterward, Alan introduced himself politely, thanked Lux for meeting despite his schedule, and strengthened their connection through a respectful handshake. Filled with excitement, Lux encouraged Alan to ask any questions, showing genuine enthusiasm because their long-awaited meeting had finally happened. Meanwhile, Lux admitted Alan reminded him of someone familiar, attracting curious glances from nearby pedestrians as they continued walking together. Finally, Alan realized Lux closely resembled the famous stage actor, Hakuba Issei, explaining why so many people recognized his familiar appearance. Unexpected attention gathered around Alan and Lux as nearby fans recognized the popular streamer, creating concern before the growing crowd surrounded them. Akira arrived with perfect timing, quickly bringing Alan and Lux into her vehicle before the unexpected situation became more difficult to handle. After leaving the crowd behind, Lux apologized for the disturbance, while Alan accepted the explanation, knowing neither of them expected such attention. Reaching their destination, Lux explained their noticeable appearances caused the misunderstanding before leading everyone toward the planned meeting venue. Inside the spacious hall, Alan observed the prepared event area, realizing another important gathering would soon begin with trading cards displayed nearby. Entering the workshop, Alan noticed the venue exceeded his expectations, with numerous staff members already preparing everything before the event officially started. Next, the organizers introduced Toda, the trainer responsible for balancing the crossword game, while explaining he would guide Alan throughout the session. Meanwhile, Lux acknowledged the introductions as Toda announced everyone had arrived, allowing the planned workshop to begin without further delay. Before starting the presentation, Alan requested permission to ask several important questions, hoping to understand the event's purpose more thoroughly. Curious about the tournament, Alan asked about the crossword's popularity, participant ages, and expected attendance to improve future event planning. During the discussion, Alan learned Crossworld remained unfamiliar across the country, making a tournament more suitable than large networking events for beginners. Toda explained the first card release featured simple abilities, while later expansions introduced greater complexity after players gained enough experience. Alan revealed he selected the first attack of a 1,000 Dragons set, because newcomers could understand it easily. Lux suggested preparing beginner-friendly half-decks, allowing students to learn basic rules before gradually collecting stronger and more complicated cards. Eventually, everyone noticed their enthusiastic discussion had drifted from the workshop, leaving Alan amused as the meeting returned to its original purpose. Realizing the challenge ahead, Alan admitted organizing a tournament immediately would prove impossible, despite his earlier confidence and ambitious plans. Encouraged by Lux and Toda, Alan toured the venue while examining valuable cards, gaining practical ideas for hosting future competitions. Later, the workshop reached its conclusion after everyone finished the planned explanations and completed the remaining training activities together. Before leaving, Lux thanked Alan for attending and handed him a special package prepared to support his future tournament preparations. Opening the gift, Alan discovered posters, rule guides, and practice cards, providing useful materials for introducing beginners to the trading card game. Receiving the training materials, Alan hesitated to accept such generous gifts, but Lux assured him they were meant to support his future efforts. Curious about their kindness, Alan asked why they helped so much. Discovering Lux and Toda simply wanted Crossworld to reach more players. Listening carefully, Alan learned every duel offered valuable lessons, proving experience mattered more than winning every single match. Instead of ignoring beginners, Lux believed welcoming new players would strengthen the community. Understanding Lux's perspective, Alan appreciated his dedication and recognized why he had become such an influential figure within Crossworld's growing community. Before departing, Lux invited Alan to showcase his deck during a future stream, leaving him surprised by the unexpected opportunity and growing enthusiasm. Later, Alan returned to the academy, carrying fresh ideas inspired by the successful workshop and discussions about expanding Crossworld's popularity. There, Lord Ray mentioned hearing about Alan's upcoming trading card gathering, showing interest in the planned community event. Explaining the details, Alan revealed the gathering would combine a meetup with product sales, making the occasion both enjoyable and practical. Additionally, Alan planned to sell sweets at the venue, hoping the extra attraction would encourage more visitors to attend the trading card event. Meeting with Lord Ray, Alan explained he wished to discuss an important matter regarding his upcoming trading card gathering at the academy. Carefully, Alan requested Lord Ray's support, because managing an event attended by noble students concerned him as an ordinary commoner. Hearing the request, Lord Ray apologized for not offering assistance sooner, though he readily agreed to help organize the event. Instead of hesitating, Lord Ray assured Alan he had already decided to become his supporter after recommending him to the academy. Smiling with relief, Alan promised to protect Lord Ray's reputation, encouraged by his strong support, despite hearing troubling stories about previous merchants. Reassured by Lord Ray's promise, Alan realized his worries had been unnecessary and thanked him for offering such dependable protection. Lord Ray further assured Alan that anyone causing trouble would be challenging the Castellano family. Alan looked forward to the gathering, then decided to return home after checking everything he had brought with him. Arriving at the team house, Alan found Sayoji visiting the brigade, pleased to see her again after spending time away. Remembering the recent crowd at the team house, Alan presented sweets as an apology gift for everyone in the brigade before explaining the situation. After giving the sweets, Alan thanked Sayoji before mentioning he wanted to discuss another important matter regarding the brigade's future activities. Sayoji explained 3 new members would join soon and invited Alan to attend a welcome party planned for their arrival next week. Meanwhile, Alan revealed one newcomer would handle administrative duties, hoping the additional support would reduce his growing workload. Interested in the celebration, Sayoji offered to help prepare several arrangements, including reserving an entire restaurant for the gathering. Hearing the plan, Alan welcomed the opportunity to meet unfamiliar members, while hoping the party could include Japanese food for everyone. After finalizing the welcome party plans, Alan and Sayoji confidently agreed to handle their respective preparations without making unnecessary compromises. Later that evening, Alan gathered supplies for the meetup before discovering a mysterious book among the items, leaving him completely bewildered. Suddenly, Arya found the suspicious book first, reacting with shock after noticing illustrations that greatly surprised and embarrassed her. Curious about the discovery, Alan examined the book while Arya mistakenly believed the person inside closely resembled him, creating an awkward misunderstanding. Fortunately, Alan pointed out the character's different name, helping Arya realize her mistake before the misunderstanding grew even more embarrassing. Despite Alan's explanation, Arya remained convinced the character resembled him, making the awkward misunderstanding even harder for him to dismiss completely. Embarrassed by the confusion, Alan apologized sincerely, while Arya examined the book again, and noticed several details were actually different. Soon afterward, Sayoji entered and found both of them acting strangely, prompting Alan to explain the accidental mix-up between the books. Determined to prevent another mistake, Alan decided to separate and label every box, while Arya gradually accepted his explanation and calmed down. The long-awaited meetup day arrived as Alan finished loading supplies, preparing everything before welcoming the expected visitors. On the meetup day, Alan confirmed every supply had been loaded, feeling relieved that the prepared materials should satisfy all expected participants. Although the luggage barely fit inside the wagon, Alan realized the moon gate would have made transporting everything much easier. Meanwhile, a companion offered to travel together, and Alan gladly accepted before setting out toward the event location with confidence. Unlike his usual bazaar work, Alan sensed greater pressure during the journey, hoping the meetup would proceed smoothly without unexpected problems. Alan arrived at the academy, where a staff member welcomed him before assigning a guide to handle his luggage and introduce today's destination. Soon, the guide led Alan into a magnificent gathering hall, revealing a spacious venue prepared for meetings, ceremonies, and important academy events. Continuing the tour, Alan followed his guide through the entrance, observing the impressive building while becoming familiar with the academy's facilities. Inside, the grand hall displayed elegant decorations, long tables, and countless seats, reflecting the academy's prestigious atmosphere and careful preparation. Finally, Alan learned the impressive hall served as the dormitory's central meeting place. Alan discovered the dormitory gathering would host around 200 participants, far exceeding his expectations, despite originally anticipating only a few dozen attendees. Meanwhile, the academy staff reassured Alan that every remaining seat would be filled, allowing the large event to proceed without further concern. Afterward, Alan reviewed the day's schedule, organizing opening activities, trading card workshops, experienced player meetups, and product sales into separate sessions. Discussing responsibilities, Alan decided to lead the beginner workshop while requesting another guild member to supervise the experienced participants throughout the event. Confidently, explaining that sufficient knowledge of the trading card rules would ensure everything operated smoothly. Preparing for the event, Alan received a handbook explaining trading card types and effects, helping the academy staff understand every product available. Curiously, Alan realized the handbook contained English text, prompting everyone to discover he could read a language unfamiliar within that fantasy world. Soon afterward, the staff explained that mysterious spirits governed language and writing, allowing most people to communicate despite their different origins. Learning more, Alan discovered those spirits translated every spoken and written language. Relieved by the explanation, Alan confirmed he could still read English, finally understanding why language differences had never caused difficulties since his arrival. As preparations continued, Alan confirmed the delivery had arrived on time, allowing everyone to begin arranging supplies before the trading card event opened. Alan separated special products into storage, while carrying boxes toward their assigned locations with assistance from the academy staff. Suddenly, Alan noticed several eager students peeking through the doorway, unable to hide their excitement as the final preparations continued inside. Seeing the enthusiastic crowd, Alan realized many students had eagerly anticipated the event, making the upcoming workshop more important than he expected. Encouraged by their shared determination, Alan accepted his assistant's promise of complete support. Standing before the audience, Alan gathered his resolve, determined to reward everyone who had supported his preparations by making the event a success. Confidently, Alan introduced himself as the Academy shop supplier, thanking every participant before beginning the trading card presentation. Next, Alan explained Crossworld and displayed sample suites, allowing students to taste potential future products while collecting valuable opinions. After the tasting session, Alan announced the Crossworld meetup schedule, encouraging everyone to share feedback before additional products reached the Academy shop. Watching the cheerful reactions, Alan noticed even noble children expressed genuine excitement, confirming the event appealed to students from every background. With the event underway, Alan headed toward the beginner workshop, preparing the lesson while students gathered with growing anticipation around the practice area. Using Yakutani's teaching materials, Alan explained the basic rules, ensuring every newcomer understood the gameplay before moving into practical matches. Encouraged by the clear explanation, the beginners eagerly volunteered to play, showing confidence as they prepared to experience their first trading card duel. Soon afterward, Alan distributed demonstration decks, allowing each student to practice the game while applying the strategies they had just learned. Meanwhile, loud excitement from another section caught Alan's attention, suggesting the experienced players' matches had become unexpectedly lively. Hearing increasing excitement nearby, Alan left the beginner workshop briefly, deciding to inspect the experienced players' matches before returning to his own session. Approaching the crowded tables, Alan discovered the strongest competitors gathered there. To his surprise, Alan recognized Diero among the participants, carefully observing his strategy as the intense duel continued before the surrounding spectators. Meanwhile, Diero's opponent confidently relied on an expensive rare card deck, believing superior cards would provide the advantage needed to secure victory. Despite facing overwhelming odds, Diero remained in the match, forcing his opponent to respect his determination as the decisive battle reached a critical moment. Watching the tense duel, Alan realized Diero faced certain defeat, unless he discovered a way to overcome his opponent's overwhelming advantage that turn. Instead of surrendering, Diero trusted Yakutani's guidance, believing one final opportunity remained as he calmly prepared his next move. Without hesitation, Diero summoned Sea Beast Luminous, activating its special ability to draw another card and extend his remaining options. Although his opponent mocked the ordinary creature, Diero remained composed, refusing to reveal the strategy hidden behind his seemingly simple play. Finally, Diero unveiled Blessing of the Azure Sea, surprising everyone by combining its powerful effect despite the costly resource requirement. Seizing the opportunity, Diero strengthened Sea Beast Luminous, destroyed the powerful Flame Dragon Galdron, and claimed victory with the remaining damage. Cheers erupted throughout the hall as Diero defeated the favored competitor, leaving everyone amazed that a low-rarity deck had overcome overwhelming odds. Moments later, the defeated student approached Diero respectfully, acknowledging the impressive match and accepting the outcome without resentment. Overwhelmed by admiration, the student praised Diero's remarkable skill, believing he had witnessed one of the Academy's strongest trading card players. Embarrassed by the attention, Diero humbly credited luck and experience, while Alan smiled proudly after watching his strategy inspire the surrounding students. Gratefully, Diero credited Alan's guidance for his victory, proving clever strategies with low-rarity cards could overcome opponents relying on expensive collections. Smiling modestly, Alan praised Diero's talent instead, while inspired students eagerly requested lessons to improve their own crossword skills. As the clock signaled the event's conclusion, Alan completed the remaining paperwork, satisfied that every planned activity had finished successfully. Reflecting on the day, Alan realized the meetup had exceeded expectations, with every product selling out and participants leaving with positive experiences. Before cleanup ended, Lord Ray arrived to congratulate Alan, leading to another important conversation after the successful Academy event concluded. After the successful event, Alan thanked Lord Ray, grateful for the opportunity that allowed everything to proceed beyond his original expectations. Learning more about the results, Alan discovered even students who had not participated visited the venue, hoping the Academy would host another gathering. Curious about the praise, Alan listened as Lord Ray prepared to explain why the event had made such a meaningful impact. According to Lord Ray, the Academy respected talent above noble rank, encouraging students to prove themselves through ability rather than family status. Consequently, the tournament inspired students who struggled to fit in, transforming Alan's event into a valuable opportunity for everyone involved. Listening carefully, Alan learned Lord Ray hoped the successful event would replace outdated traditions by encouraging stronger connections. Respectfully, Alan praised Lord Ray's ideals, believing his own abilities carried responsibility because they had been entrusted to benefit other people. Before departing, Lord Ray promised to handle trading card fraud investigations himself, allowing Alan to concentrate fully on expanding his merchant business. Left alone afterward, Alan reflected on Lord Ray's words, considering the importance of using personal strength to improve the lives of others. Quietly, Alan remembered his extraordinary skill and second chance, realizing both were gifts earned through effort rather than noble birth alone. Reflecting on recent events, Alan resolved to use his unique abilities for the benefit of others instead of pursuing wealth alone. Meeting Mr. Miner afterward, Alan explained his business philosophy, believing successful trade should create advantages for sellers, buyers, and society together. Following the discussion, Alan sincerely thanked Mr. Miner for his assistance, acknowledging that the event's success depended on everyone's dedicated efforts. Wanting to show appreciation, Alan offered snacks for the staff, encouraging everyone to enjoy them after completing the demanding cleanup. Gratefully, the staff accepted Alan's kindness, explaining they enjoyed supporting the event and considered helping others an important part of their work. After finishing the cleanup, Alan prepared to leave, explaining he still had another important task before returning home for the evening. Suddenly, a staff member called after Alan, prompting him to stop before leaving the academy, despite believing everything had already concluded. Alan apologized and asked whether anyone had seen the reference book he had left behind during the event. Elsewhere, a young woman returned to her room carrying the forgotten book, relieved after finally completing the day's exhausting responsibilities. Finally, she rested on her bed, admitting the long day and countless errands had completely drained her energy before nightfall. Resting after the successful meetup, the young noble reflected that the event had exceeded expectations. Curiosity soon turned into complete shock when she opened the borrowed book, discovering unexpected illustrations that left her utterly bewildered and searching for an explanation. Alan discovered a thin book had disappeared from the storage area, prompting him to investigate the unexpected problem before inventory became further disorganized. Growing concerned, Alan recalled setting the book aside, then realized it had vanished, despite remaining inside the designated storage space. Seeking assistance, Alan informed a staff member, who immediately prepared to inspect the merchandise and investigate the missing book. Suddenly, the employee bowed deeply, accepting responsibility after realizing a serious mistake had occurred during preparations. Fortunately, the missing book was found among displayed merchandise, because its plain cover resembled ordinary books, causing the accidental mix-up. Although disappointed by the incident, Alan realized the missing book resulted from an honest mistake, rather than anyone's intentional carelessness. Feeling responsible, the employee apologized sincerely, while Alan accepted the explanation, regretting that the situation had caused unnecessary trouble for everyone. After reviewing the circumstances, the staff proposed issuing a warning and recovering every sold copy before further problems could arise. Unfortunately, several books had already reached customers, making immediate retrieval impossible until the following day, despite everyone's determined efforts. Accepting the delay, Alan departed quietly, hoping every misplaced book would return before anyone discovered its sensitive contents. Alan remained distracted during breakfast, unable to stop thinking about the misplaced book, despite everyone repeatedly trying to regain his attention. Noticing his unusual behavior, Arya observed Alan's absent expression, while the others grew concerned about his condition since the previous day. Asked about his health, Alan admitted he had little appetite, leaving everyone worried that the recent incident continued affecting his mood. Meanwhile, a cheerful suggestion to finish Alan's fermented food was stopped, because it had already been prepared for his next meal. Embarrassed by everyone's concern, Alan assured them he felt fine, although his thoughts remained occupied by the missing books awaiting recovery. Determined to stay calm, Alan gathered his thoughts before an unexpected visitor arrived, interrupting his plan to investigate the missing books personally. Moments later, a government postal worker delivered an express letter, leaving Alan curious about its sender and urgent purpose. Reading the envelope outside, Alan sensed trouble ahead, because official mail rarely reached him without an important reason. Opening the message, Alan found an invitation ordering him to visit the Great Eagle dormitory at 10 that morning. Soon afterward, Alan met Lumiere Seharp, who questioned why he had been summoned, beginning another unexpected encounter at the academy. Facing Lumiere, Alan struggled to explain the incident, while realizing the investigation had begun because of Sakabara's request. Remaining composed, Lumiere assured Alan she had no intention of exposing the matter publicly, despite the serious circumstances surrounding the missing book. Instead, Lumiere explained that Lord Ray had recommended Alan, making the situation important because his trusted reputation could also suffer. Wanting the truth, Lumiere stated she only wished to understand the reason behind the mistake as a fellow resident of the same dormitory. Calmly, Alan suggested another similar book might have been mixed with the merchandise, hoping the explanation would clarify the unfortunate misunderstanding. Answering honestly, Alan realized avoiding the issue would only create greater suspicion, so he decided to explain everything without hiding important details. Carefully, Alan described his business, explaining that his store supplied many different products to satisfy customers with various interests and needs. Hearing the explanation, Lumiere questioned whether Alan understood the legal consequences if authorities discovered the controversial books. Confidently, Alan explained the books were restricted merchandise rather than illegal items, making confiscation possible without leading to criminal punishment. After considering his answer, Lumiere acknowledged similar books already existed among certain nobles, confirming no laws directly prohibited them within the kingdom. Listening carefully, Lumiere reflected that books like Alan's had no clear precedent, leaving her uncertain how to judge someone trusted by Lord Ray. Silence filled the room as Alan waited patiently, allowing Lumiere enough time to organize her thoughts before continuing the discussion. Changing the topic, Lumiere asked about Alan's wider book collection, deciding to evaluate his business beyond the controversial publication alone. Explaining the pricing, Alan revealed the unusual book was an expensive exception, while ordinary books remained affordable for most customers. Curious about its value, Lumiere proposed buying the special book herself, hoping to better understand the product under discussion. Surprised by Lumiere's proposal, Alan admitted the special book existed only through a custom request, making another copy impossible to guarantee. Maintaining her firm stance, Lumiere explained that ignoring the incident would make her responsible as well, placing both of them in a difficult position. Accepting her reasoning, Alan expressed understanding, believing trust between merchants and customers remained the foundation of every honest business relationship. Satisfied with his response, Lumiere agreed to review Alan's other books instead, while Alan felt relieved the tense discussion had finally eased. Before long, another girl hurried over after hearing Lumiere had discovered the controversial book. Relieved by the outcome, Alan assured the anxious employee everything had been resolved. After reflecting on the discussion, Alan realized Lumelier accepted the explanation and chose not to investigate the customer who purchased the book. Smiling with relief, the employee thanked Alan, while Lumelier remarked that the unexpected incident had earned her another trustworthy companion. Meanwhile, Lumelier became fascinated by the unusual book, examining it with great interest while sharing her unique thoughts about its story. Confident in the location, Alan invited Sakakibara to continue their conversation, believing the reserved CA offered enough privacy for cross-world matters. During their CA discussion, Sakakibara admitted she wanted to join Alan's trading card game, because its growing popularity had captured her interest. Listening carefully, Alan understood her enthusiasm, yet explained that her status as a princess would discourage others from playing comfortably beside her. Embarrassed, Sakakibara revealed her unusual reputation often caused awkward reactions, leaving many people apologetic or overwhelmed whenever they met her. Hearing her concerns, Alan realized Sakakibara considered herself an exception among powerful magic users, despite her remarkable abilities and noble background. Comparing social standing, Sakakibara described herself as someone far beyond ordinary nobles. Watching Sakakibara cherish the book, Alan realized she behaved like an ordinary student, despite carrying the responsibilities of a respected princess. Trying to encourage her, Alan suggested approaching others first. Yet Sakakibara admitted everyone treated her as an untouchable royal figure instead. Reflecting on her life, Sakakibara confessed that becoming a princess seemed admirable from afar, although the reality often felt lonely and restrictive. After returning home, Alan continued thinking about Sakakibara's words, imagining the quiet isolation hidden behind her composed appearance. Later, Alan considered the meaning of friendship before someone called for him, interrupting his thoughts and bringing him back to the present. While drinking coffee, Alan admitted he had been deep in thought, prompting Arya to ask what continued troubling him so much. Explaining the situation, Alan described a student at the academy who struggled to build friendships despite wanting to connect with others. Comparing the circumstances, Alan realized the student's isolation resembled Arya's respected position, where admiration often created distance instead of companionship. After considering the problem, Arya concluded the student's opportunities remained limited and asked whether Alan had any practical solution in mind. Inspired by the discussion, Alan suggested becoming pen pals, believing written correspondence could help the lonely student form genuine friendships gradually. Encouraged by Arya's advice, Alan realized anonymous letters sent through Moon Gate could help students build friendships without worrying about social status. While refining the idea, Alan decided the project should entertain many people, remembering how much Eula enjoyed reading fantasy novels. Hearing his thoughts, Eula admitted she preferred novels over manga, inspiring Alan to consider expanding his growing collection of reading materials. Suddenly, Alan proposed creating a bulletin, hoping it would support communication beyond simple exchanges between individual pen pals. Developing the concept further, Alan described a private newsletter where members could share interests, recommendations. Planning the bulletin further, Alan searched for additional participants, believing shared interests in books would encourage meaningful conversations among members. Next, Alan invited Eula to join alongside Arya, hoping the gathering would help everyone enjoy their hobbies together despite their reserved lifestyles. After considering the invitation, Eula gladly accepted because she rarely found opportunities to discuss her favorite books with other people. Even so, Eula assured Alan she appreciated her peaceful daily life, asking him not to misunderstand her feelings despite her quiet personality. Satisfied with her answer, Alan welcomed Eula's help creating the bulletin, while she admitted she also wanted to practice using the computer. Determined to help Alan, Eula asked him to teach her computer skills, hoping to reduce his workload while preparing to assist with the bulletin project.